Welcome to the Alumni Meeting. This is, yeah, unfortunately, it's not the annual meeting because of still the pandemic that's happening. But hopefully we'll have a nice time anyway. We have some interesting talks for you, and we have all the new candidates for the new board to go through. So yeah, welcome. If I can go through, yeah. Welcome everyone. This is what a typical board meeting looks like these days. Yeah, so as you can see, it's much like as we are now. I would just ask like a couple of things. If you could all mute yourselves and maybe even turn off your video just so we can save on the network as we're going through this. But at the same time, we will be like handing over to lots of people. So when it's your turn to talk, please turn your microphone on, your video on. It would be nice to like see you as well. But yeah, warmly welcome to everyone. I'll just take you through the agenda quickly. Oh look, we're on time. So in about 3 minutes, I'll hand over to Shashank, and he's going to take you through the results from the alumni survey that we did a few months ago. I don't know, hopefully some of you filled it out. It was like a record, we broke a record of how many people filled it out this year. So that should be cool. We have some results from that Shashank's going to take you through. Then after Shashank, we will hand over to Jeroen, the president, who will go through a look into the future, what we have planned coming up from the rest of our board that we have now, and maybe a bit into the future as well. After this, we will make an announcement about the annual meeting, which is where we all should have been right now. And we will have that will be with Jeroen as well, and then we will have a little presentation from the board about how you can prepare for an annual meeting application if you're interested in helping us make the annual meeting this year. We'll have a break around this time. We're not sure how long all this will take, but we will have a break until around 3:15. At 3:15, we will jump into the election candidates. This is like one big block. We're going to go through everyone. It's the first time we've done it something like this, and our idea was to have the elections a bit more like a question and answer thing, where people, the candidates can come and present themselves and basically present their case as to why we should vote for them. So we'll be doing this we'll go through each of the positions. We'll start with technology officer, then outreach and partnerships officer, then marketing and communications, treasurer, secretary, events officer, which I think is the only one which has 2 candidates on it. So there'll be a little competition there, I guess. And then finally onto the president. The format of this we'll go through each of the current board members of this role. They will introduce the role as it is, a little bit of their experience in this role. We will then introduce the candidates for these roles, and then we will do a Q&A with those candidates. So this should be how it goes. We'll have about 10 minutes per role, 15 minutes for the events officer because it's there's 2 candidates, and I will be keeping time, so we will try fit everything in this time. When all of this is done, we will have another break. We'll see what time it is, but hopefully we should come back around 5 after the break here. Then after the second break, we have a keynote speaker, which is Jan Grotenbreg, who will give us a talk on networking. And then finally, after this keynote speaker, we will have a official opening of the election and some closing words from Jeroen, the president. So yeah, that's everything for now. I would hand over to Shashank straight away. Let me just try and figure out pants. How do I hand over? Hold on.
I think.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. There you go.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Greg, for handover.
No worries.
So hello and good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing good. I'm Shashank Srivastav, right now technology officer of our board. And last year, we conducted survey and we also published our result on the website, but here I'm going to show some of the insight from our survey. Okay. Can you go back, Greg? I think you also pressed. Back.
It's not giving me control, sorry. I'll just start again. Sorry about this.
That's fine.
Okay, let's see if we can go.
So in this survey, almost 751 participants were there. And out of them, almost 90% were, yeah, now it's there. 90% were master school graduates. And this survey was organized with the collaboration with EIT Digital Master School and their communication and communication department. And this survey shows that our alumni are utilizing the technology and entrepreneurship which we have learned during our masters, and 15% of our alumni, they started their startup or they are in process to start something new. And 24% of our alumni are working in a startup. And this survey tells us that 85% of them are currently based in EU, and 15% are now based in 33 different countries, and among them, China, USA, and India are the most. Other countries, those are having most of our alumni. Can I? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We have also asked our member if they are willing to pay some membership fees to the Alumni Foundation, and among these 751 responses, 47.7% people show their willingness to pay alumni membership, and others, they didn't answer the question. And some of them, like very few, they were not willing to pay. So the range I have tried to represent in the pie chart on the right side. Yeah, sorry. So among these 47.7%, most of them are willing to pay fees, membership fees around 50 euro. And like some of, very few are willing to pay more than 100 euros. So maybe in future we can consider to set a membership fees based on this survey, so that can be taken in the consideration of new board. And the good thing that more than 75% people know about the existing EIT Digital Alumni Board. So maybe here we can focus for those remaining 24% people to at least they know the board and they feel connected with our alumni community. And as we were expecting, and this also shows in our survey, that our newsletters and emails are really important, and 36.2% people are still reading our newsletters and emails, and they are getting update from these platforms. And other than newsletters and our emails, they'll get update from LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. These are, and our website, of course. These are most popular platform for getting update from Alumni Board. Other than that, there are few WeChat, Telegram, and Twitter channels where also our alumni are looking information for our EIT Digital Alumni Foundation. So then I'll move next. Yeah. So in our survey, we have also asked like what our alumni are interested in, like what do they expect from us. So most of them are very much interested in the license and software tools, license for software tools which we can provide to them. So in past we have provided license for Doppler, and it's still valid for our alumni members, and also uh, I think in previous board it was we have provided license for JetBrains software. So I am still using PyCharm from the license provided by alumni. And what other uh, important things are training and courses or some workshops. So during Corona time, we were able to organize Tuesday after work successfully, and some of the trainings were given there. I think one of them was Drupal training, and it was also interesting for our alumni members. And they also look for jobs and internship from the alumni network, so which is also very obvious, uh, and we are improving this on our website also. So make job posting easily accessible to the alumni who wants to post the job and alumni who wants to who want to connect with these uh, jobs. And also members are very much interested in discount coupons. Currently we were providing Flixbus coupons, but I don't think it's working for now for past 1 month. And other services are professional mentoring and coaching. We have our mentorship program, and we'll be looking for new mentors for this mentorship program. And our foundation also organizes different startup events. So in previous months, we organized a startup competition where some of the startup won the prize, and they have got chance to participate in some big events. And of course, other interests are matchmaking and networking, and all, of course, our alumni news. If there are some success stories, recently we have published one of the success story that two of our alumni are included in the Forbes 30 under 30 list. So these are the interests from our alumni members. So when we include it and see that the result of the survey indicates satisfaction among our alumni member, and we can improve some of the area by seeing their interest. So we are working on this, and we hope the next board will also use this information, and they can also make our board, make our alumni network more strong. So that's it from the alumni survey. And I would like to hand over to Jeroen to tell us about the future.
Yes, thank you very much, Shashank, for setting the stage a bit. Let me share the screen so that you can see my presentation as well. That should work now, I hope. So yes, to me, the honor to look a little bit into the future, to see what things are going to be like. Because I think we have all been dwelling enough into the past over the last couple of months. I think if we turn on the TV, we all see news on how the coronavirus is still there, how people being vaccinated, but it is really going in the right direction, guys. I know that we hear this all the time, that we're almost there, but I think we really are. A couple more months. Some countries are doing very well in terms of the vaccination, and also within the EU, things are slowly going up. After which, hopefully we can resume to normal times. So the purpose of this presentation is together to really have a look at what is going to happen in the future, what can happen in the future, what our plans are, and how we can make sure that after this coronavirus pandemic, we have the opportunity to meet again, to see each other, and to hopefully do many cool events. To give you a little overview, there is another curve that should go up beyond the one that is targeting the vaccinations, is the one with our alumni members. We have, regardless of the pandemic, we have been able to maintain a bit of a growth. But as you can see here in this graph, there is one key element that the growth has stagnated a little bit. Now, this has, of course, a very clear reason. I think many of you will be very aware of this reason, and that is that there has not been any graduation ceremony that took place in 2020, meaning that there are technically no 2020 graduates, and there will only be 2021 graduates. So we're looking forward to see this graph skyrocket through the top of my PowerPoint slide, and welcome many new members in our community in the months to come. So that's also why the rest of this is going to focus more on the future than on the past. Before looking into the future, I wanted to highlight to you that if you want to read about everything that has happened in 2020, you can scan this QR code or go to our website where you can find our annual report of 2020. This nicely outlines all the achievements, all the things that we have done, all the things that we presented to you as well when we met in November during the online annual meeting of 2020. And I think there you get many of the highlights that we managed to achieve regardless of the global pandemic that's going on. But really, what I would want to do is, I see that people are in the waiting room. Sorry, I somehow got muted in the middle of my presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yes. Sorry, guys, it was a bit awkward. Yes, time to look a bit into the future and to see what opportunities we can find to engage. So I think the first thing that's coming up is that we have board elections. I think this is the main reason that we are here together in this meeting today, to hear more about the 8 great candidates that we have that you're going to meet later on. From today onwards, we'll also have a voting that's going to be open for a month. More on that later, on how you can cast your vote and how you can share your preference with us as well. Of course, following that, we need to have a board handover meeting to make sure that we can hand over everything from the current board to the next board, which will probably take place sometime in the end of May. And then on the 4th of July, we will hand over to the new board. This is the date when the new board will start, with hopefully many great ideas as well to be implemented beyond what I'm going to share with you in this presentation. As you read their candidates, there are many of them that are listing great ideas that I did not want to steal or include in this presentation. So have a look on our website on all the candidate profiles, and you will find a lot more that is out there in the pipeline to come in the next coming months. But just to give you an overview of what we have already planned before the 4th of July as well. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring back the Tuesday after works that we carried out last year during the month of May. This year, the month of May is around. So we're planning to have another great series of topics on Tuesday after work, so that all of you can join, we can interact, we can meet, and have an opportunity to meet online while we're still not able to meet physically. We hope also that this triggers again a nice diverse crowd from people from all across the world that can attend these sessions. And we would also be very happy to count on your contribution. So if you have any ideas or presentations or talks or workshops that you would like to give, or you know that your company might be interested in contributing with an interesting task or workshop, feel free to drop us an email on alumni@eitdigital.eu. And we will be able to include that in the program of the Tuesday afterwards. We'll shortly also announce all the different topics that will be out there and all the different dates that are on the agenda to take place. So keep watching our social media channels to learn more about that. Secondly, we'll of course also resume the Startup of the Year contest that we carried out last year. Last year was very successful. which of course for the 2021 version will also be looking for a startup that we can support, and hopefully this year really send to a large conference that takes place in the autumn. Of course, to be seen what this is going to be about. But if you have a startup, or you have a company, or you have a project, or you have friends, you know people that would like to participate, also keep an eye on our social media channels, because we will be sharing the startup contest with you in the coming months as well, to make sure that we can again support one of your great initiatives. And lastly, I really hope that we are able to meet again, that we are able to resume these meetings that in these pictures feel a bit distant if you look at it. I don't know how it is for you, but me looking at it, I'm like, these people are sitting way too close to each other. I hope that that over the course of the next months, we are going to be able to meet again in different countries, in different places. Some countries will be sooner than others. Some countries will have lighter restrictions than others. And I hope, really hope, that we can also count on you to organize these events, to kickstart the activities within our community. Because I think I speak for everyone that this is what we need the most. We need to network, we want to be together, and we really want to experience what it's like to learn from each other, do activities with each other, and network. So also there, a little call to action for all of you. If you're interested to host an event in your city, if you think, okay, everything is opening up, I would like to do something with the alumni, feel free to reach out to us on the email address alumni@eitdigital.eu, and we can put you in touch with a local representative or tell you how to rely on funding that we have available to carry out these activities. Couple more updates then of what's in the pipeline. There's also an EIT Alumni Connect planned for 2021, which will take place on the 5th of December. So this is a great event that takes place every year, organized by the EIT. Of course, the one that is on the agenda this year will be a little bit different, because nobody can really predict yet whether we can meet in the beginning of December. So for now, we foresee to have an hybrid event. But I have good hopes that also there we can send a group of our EIT Digital alumni to go to Budapest and attend this event in person. Lastly, a couple of updates on the graduation day. As I already said, there was no graduation day in 2020. We have heard news from the EIT Digital Master School that the graduation day of 2021 is going to take place very soon. They are now talking about June, but many things are still to be confirmed, of course, given the whole scope of the pandemic. But that also means that hopefully very soon we'll be able to welcome a large group of new graduates, a large group of new members, and we look forward to organize many nice events together with the new members of our community. Couple of other updates as well to look forward to. I think what will also be important in the coming months is that we set the plans for 2022. As many of you may know, or many of you may not know, there is a meeting with the governing board every summer in which we have to present our work plan for the year ahead. So we are in full swing now planning what is going to happen in 2022. So also there, I keep involving you, but if you have any ideas, things that you believe would be very nice to carry out, that would also require funding or more planning in advance, feel free to let us know so that we can make sure that these can be included in the plans for 2022. Well, one more thing to keep in mind for 2022 as well is that we are going to have to see how to deal with the budget. This meeting in the summer, every year we set the budget for the year to come. And we have heard now from EIT Digital that there is some reason to believe that we may have to reduce the budget for the upcoming years. So keep in mind that we may come and ask you what you think is the best way forward. Shashank already presented some updates or some survey results with regards to potentially introducing a membership fee. Nothing has been decided yet. The amount has not been set either. But this is something that we may have to consider altogether if funding from EIT Digital proves to be insufficient for some of the things that we want to carry out. Then in terms of the EIT alumni, I already mentioned there is an EIT Alumni Connect event coming up where we can engage. But there's something else that is coming up very soon, and that is that the EIT alumni, our umbrella of all the alumni communities, is going to look for a president that is going to be democratically elected. This president will be employed by the EIT for around half a day per week to do some work. So it is a position that comes with certain benefits, but the aim from the EIT is to look for someone that can really push the umbrella nature of all the different communities and represent that interest of everyone rather than the individual communities by themselves. So soon also for that, there will be a call out in which all of you, all our members are able to apply for that position, after which there will be a selection procedure that also means that we will have an opinion poll to see who we would most likely want in that position. But more information to follow. I just wanted to share this with you as an opportunity that will come along as well. So those are sort of the things that I think are going to be happening in the next month and in the rest of 2021. I really hope that we're going to be able to do many events. I personally can't wait to see all of you again, to meet all of you in person, and to have many great new opportunities to learn, to network, to do things together in the different cities. Now, you may be thinking, Jeroen, you're forgetting an important thing. No, I'm not forgetting about this important thing. We have hinted at it already. The annual meeting 2021. Well, we are here together online. We call this an alumni meeting for now because we do have all the intentions to investigate what we can do in 2021. So a couple of updates on what is happening there. In 2020, we had an open call. Well, actually, we carried it out in the end of 2019, where we looked for a working group to host our annual meeting in 2020. This was all way before the coronavirus pandemic was a thing, and we were all hoping that we would be able to meet in 2020. And to this call, we got 4 interested working groups to apply, one in Cluj-Napoca, one in Helsinki, one in Limassol, and one in Split. Well, as most of you know, in the end, the working group in Split was selected to host the annual meeting in 2020. That we unfortunately had to cancel. But these were all great opportunities to carry out. Now, the question that everyone is asking is, will there be an annual meeting in 2021? Can we have an annual meeting in 2021? And I think the only right answer to give you there is maybe. We are going to do our best, together with the next board, of course, to figure out and investigate all the possibilities of doing this. But it is very uncertain at the moment, as nobody really knows how the pandemic is going to evolve. What we do know is a couple of considerations that we have to take into account. First of all, we need to look at a suitable location where we could carry this out. Unfortunately, or really thanks to all the work that the guys in Split have put in, we had a good destination last year to carry out our annual meeting. But the members of the working group have already indicated that for this year, it is not really an option to organize it in Split. So we will have to carry out a selection procedure as we did in the end of 2019 to select a new location. Of course, this annual meeting is not going to take place now. It will have to be in the autumn or the winter of 2021, which of course comes with challenges as well. I think we would all sort of agree with the statement that probably later in the year, the better it is, because there are more chances that people are vaccinated and that we can travel and so on. But also that the timeline, the weekend needs to be decided. As this extends into the autumn and the winter, it's of course also not a decision that we can take, but a decision that has to be considered together with the new board and mostly decided by the new board, as they will have to be the ones that are implementing it. We have already said with our board that we will be very happy to help, to support, to make sure that this is going to be a good annual meeting. But yeah, that is something that we need to discuss together, also pending the elections that are going to start now. And last but not least, I think the most important consideration of all is that we need to make sure that all of this is safe. If we are going to meet in a place with maybe up to 100 people, we need to make sure that that happens in a safe manner, that people are vaccinated, people are tested, that we have other means to ensure that the coronavirus cannot spread. So all of these things need to be taken into account. And since I already start to sound a bit like prime minister working for a government, I made one of these nice roadmaps that most governments are making as well, with this timeline. You know, this date the terraces are going to open, this date we're going to be able to meet this many people again. For us, there are a couple of crucial moments that I wanted to highlight to all of you so that you understand what is going to happen. Of course, we're going to extensively discuss this topic at the handover meeting with the next board, which will take place in the end of May. After which we will launch a call for a new working group to organize the annual meeting. So we've already outlined the dates of this open call that we're going to carry out. It's going to be from the 11th of June until the 11th of July. And there, all of you will have the opportunity to send your applications to host this event. Then the evaluation and the decision is going to take place after that. So together, well, mainly the new board is actually going to decide because it's going to fall intentionally in their term that starts on the 4th of July. But of course, we will be there to help and take the decision together with both boards to understand what is a suitable way forward. And then we hope by the end of July to announce the destination, to announce our verdict of whether this is going to happen, whether this event is going to take place, which will then be carried out in October, November by the organizing working group, if all goes well. Maybe December, we need to see, but this is a bit the timeline that we're looking at. So for now, the first call to actions are really start thinking whether you would be interested in hosting an annual meeting, hosting and organizing, being part of the working group, because the application period will be open from June, the 11th of June until the 11th of July. For all the new board members, I know it's already pressure, or all the candidates, to at least start thinking about your opinions on the annual meeting. What can we do? How can we do this in a safe, reliable way, etc. But I hope if we put it all together that we are going to be able to meet in 2021 and have one of those very nice experiences as we had in Brussels, in Trento, and in Porto in the years when we did not know the coronavirus pandemic was a thing. So many things to look forward to. And for now, I'm going to hand over to Davor, who is going to tell you more about his experiences writing an application for the annual meeting working group and actually implementing the annual meeting. I think it's good for all of you to know that they were around 60–70% done in organizing the annual meeting in Split when we had to decide to cancel it. So Davor, I think the floor is yours, and we need to switch back to Craig for the slides, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Aaron, so much. I'll just wait until I get a handover of the slides. Let's see.
I'm just giving you the control now. Hold on.
Okay, cool.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Aaron. As Aaron mentioned, we had a working group that was supposed to organize an annual meeting that was supposed to be happening in Split in Croatia. And this short presentation is about the good practices of when you will be thinking about the next meeting that's going to happen, hopefully this year, what you need to take care of. So as Jaro mentioned, we were almost done with organizing everything, but unfortunately, as we all know, the coronavirus happened, and unfortunately, we couldn't share all of this exciting stuff with you. But I think this was a very good thing that happened with the planning that you can take from us, that you will need to be as flexible as possible regarding the possible refunds, the way that you are going to probably book a hotel, and how the community is going to pay for this booking slot. It is going to be directly through the hotel, or you're going to go through the alumni organization as a way of filling these fees. So let's go from the beginning. So the first steps you have to do is really to think about what's the location you are really passionate about. Maybe you already know a location that you visited, or maybe it's your hometown or whatever. And then when you know the location, you have to actually have people in your team. So you have to assemble a team of people, and I would actually recommend that you have at least one of the member on the ground as a ground force, because it's going to be very complicated to do all these things online. And if you're not physically present in a location, you want to just organize everything. And then the third question is going to be, actually in the application itself, when you're going to have an open call, is the motivation. Why are you doing this? Is it a benefit for the community? Why do you think this is going to be a good idea? And what all kinds of attractiveness can you put there in terms of lectures, in terms of social activities, and so on? And then the fourth question is when. Usually in non-corona times, it would be around May, but I mean, it was flexible in before, but now, as Jeroen mentioned, it's going to be by the end of this year. And then for the next year, if you're planning already so much in the future, we will not know depending on the corona situation. Also, when you assemble the group, one of them has to be an activity coordinator, is the main person of contact whenever you will be communicating with the board, or the one that's going to be compiling everything regarding the meeting. You will, of course, need to have regular meetings, either offline or online. It's very, very beneficial because as soon as you stop being productive, it's going to catch up with you time-wise, and it's only so much you can do in such a short amount of time. And of course, split the workload. Maybe one of you can do the hotel bookings, one of them social activities, one of you can do some other thing. And then the most important question is how. This is everything else is going to be asked from you in the document, basically. So you will need to really describe to the board and to the community everything about the location, about the country, the city, and then the culture. All about the transportation. Is there an access with an airplane? Is it like a low budget airplane like Ryanair? Or depending where people can come from Europe or outside of Europe. What about the public transportation? How good is the connection between the venues and then between the airport? What about the meeting venue? Is it big enough? What about the workshops, the catering? Or do you have to get the catering from the outside? Then the accommodation, bedroom types. What about the food? Maybe they have an extra facility that could be attractive to the community. The social program. Here, I really need to say, think about the weather, because I know we didn't have a huge risk thinking about split and then having a boat, for example, or any kind of sea activity, but you really need to think what if, and what if the weather is going to be so bad that, for example, you need to like switch for something else. And also, not everybody is going to take only one social activity. You need to have a couple of them. And then this is also going to tie to the next outreach and partnership officer. And the question is, where can you find additional funding sources? Because there's a fixed amount allocated by the EIT Digital Alumni, which means that you need to find additional sources. And then we go to the next slide where it's all about the money. And budget for 2020 was 10K covered by the EIT Digital Alumni Foundation, which means that, of course, anything else you need to find yourself. And there are a couple of rules. Two biggest rules are the public procurement, which means that, for example, if you're looking for the hotel or you're looking for the social activity, you cannot exceed the amount of around 4K. And if you exceed that amount by the rules of the EIT higher up, it means that there has to be a public procurement, and then it has to be chosen by the higher officials, which means that it has to be below this amount. The other thing is the quoted price rule, which means that if you are searching for a hotel, you need to find at least 3 different locations. So, so the community and you, between the team who's organizing, can vote which one is the best in terms of the price, in terms of the space, and in terms of some additional activities. So keep in mind, these are very important rules for you. At the end, this is a pitch. The whole document, yeah, it has to compile these different segments, but remember what you learn in EIT Digital Education. It really needs to be attractive and it really needs to be straightforward. So include different kind of iconographies, visualizations, show out the map, show up the different venues. For example, where do you come to the city center? Where is the main bus station? Where are the social activities? Where is the venue? Where is the hotel? And how far away they are? How you are able to come there? Do you walk? Do you use the tram? Do you use the bus? how many people can stay in the auditorium? Is it big enough for 100 people? Or do you need to split it into a couple of places? So keep in mind all of this. It's basically a pitch for you. And then there are some details you really need to think about, which usually you don't think, but if you take a walk in your participants' shoes, you realize they are very important. For example, for us, we realized if we are doing the thing in May, we need to be cautious of the food restrictions because Ramadan is around that time, which you won't have a problem if you're going to organize it in by the end of this year. Always keep in mind it's a 100+ event people that you need to be cautious of that. For example, if the public transport, maybe you will need to really negotiate with getting like buses organized to move people from one location to another. Not everybody will want to go for the same social program. Be aware of that. And also something that's, again, about the partnerships and how to negotiate discounts. Another detail is that the forces on the ground, someone who will be there at the location that you want to go to, because knowledge of the local language really helps. For example, in Split, we managed to get so many discounts, and we were able to actually, when the Corona hit, to cancel everything and get the money refund only because we really communicate everything in local language, and we were really stressing the importance of this for the local community. Just some of the advices for getting sponsorship things is to contact different things. Don't think just about companies and universities. There are different boards, different associations. Brainstorm about the workshops, who you can bring, and always think about the average price for the attendee so it doesn't go too high. And as I said, this is an excellent opportunity in case you're showcasing your own home country to showcase it. But of course, we had applications from people last year, the year before. This Corona totally messed up my time, the sense of time. In 2019 was to actually pick a country that you're not connected with, but you think you could actually be able to do it because you visited or maybe something like that. And most importantly, have fun, because it's going to be tedious, very time consuming. So it's good that you have a good relationship with the people within the team who's organizing this, and just have fun. Represent in the best light that you can. And these are all the advices I have here, but feel free to reach out to me or to anyone within our board currently, and I'll make sure to get back to you. That's it. Thank you. I'll give the floor back to Greg.
Yeah.
Able to do that, or you can do it.
Yeah, I was just going to turn my video on, but it's not working. Never mind. Yeah, so thank you very much, Deval, and Jeroen and Shashank as well for these really nice presentations. Yeah, so we'll take a break now until it'll be 25 minutes, so until 3:15. Yeah, and then after the break, we'll get into the elections and figure out who is going to be bringing you all of these exciting future stuff. Thank you. Enjoy your break.
I see Franz is asking if we take any questions. I think we can use the break for the questions if you have any.
Yeah, indeed.
Happy to answer them.
I can't open the chat. Here we go. Okay, he didn't ask in the chat. Do you want to just ask your questions now then, Franz?
I don't know, as you prefer. I mean, if there's a break, we can also, I think there's going to be an opportunity later on. But
or if anyone else besides Franz has any questions as well, I think we could.
Yeah, I mean,
small Q&A now.
I felt that there was, sorry about that. And I thought there was no time for questions. And I mean, my biggest question mark was, if you're actually planning to host a physical event this year. Because I mean, I see that trends are going quite well in some countries, let's say, for example, UK. But for example, for Italy, there is no way we will get to more than 80% in late September. And talking about international flights and gathering people from other countries, and most of the EU countries are even way further down respect to Italy. So especially also because there's going to be 2022, and there might be an annual meeting probably around the spring in 2022. So I think no one will actually argue that if we are not hosting an annual meeting this year, given the current situation, and why not rather focusing on building it better for 2022. That's my only concern. But
yeah,
again,
I think maybe I can answer this. No, I think it's absolutely not a given yet that we are going to implement an annual meeting physically within the autumn of this year. I think there is no doubt that everyone would like to meet, including all of us, right? It would be super cool to meet in one place and to have a meeting all together. But I think the format is really still to be decided by the board in the board handover. We are now simply looking forward because we think it is a nice opportunity for all of us to dream about something that may happen after the coronavirus pandemic, whether this is going to take place in the end of the year or whether it's going to take place next year. In both cases, we believe it is good to start preparing, to start planning, to start thinking about it. We'll have a call in June, and also then we are very welcome. People are very welcome to submit proposals for hybrid events or more innovative formats in which we don't all have to travel to one place, but we're still able to somehow meet and have something together. Last year we were all locked down; we couldn't do anything. The chances that we can do something in the second half of 2021 are higher. But of course, over the course of the summer, we all need to carefully evaluate whether this is a good idea, whether this is safe, whether this is possible, and then we'll decide.
I just want to add that it's not in vain, basically, if there's a group actually preparing for the end of this year, because you can always compile whatever you get to move it for the next year. And also all the partnerships you actually manage, they can actually be kind of transferred to any kind of other event. For example, Tuesday afterwards, you can get a speaker, you can get some kind of different hybrid partnership. So not everything is in vain. I think it's a good exercise for a working group, whatever the corona situation lead us to by the end of this year.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question for technology officer, I believe I can see in the chat.
Yeah, Bobo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hate to be that guy. Shashank, thanks for your presentation about this survey. I think the survey was not aggressively available in a way for the entire community. What I missed out in that is the number of participants, and how did you come up with those figures, those percentages?
So there were
like shamefully, I'm so sorry. I did not even participate.
I think
so what happened? What went wrong? Just for us to understand for next time, it could be better, right?
Okay, yeah. I think that time the presentation was not available, so I mentioned the number of participants while Craig was setting up. So there were like 751 participants in the survey.
751.
Yeah.
And how long did that take? How long was that for? Like, what was the duration of the survey, its availability?
I think it was available for 3 months, and they extended the deadline for 15 more days, I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe Giaro knows about that, how long it was available.
Okay.
I think it was also about like 3 weeks or a month.
Okay.
And this was happening by the end of last year. And regarding the distribution, also wanted to comment the distribution of the survey, because I am aware that some alumni might not have received a link. That was done directly by the master school. And we provided them a list of emails. Obviously, there are some reasons why we cannot share the full directory of alumni. With EIT Digital, we're two separate entities, although we have some sort of internal agreement on data sharing. but they compiled the list of email addresses that we provided, and they made a match with the email addresses that they had. And also, many people might not have received the link because they register with some, for example, KTH email address or some Alto email address. And these are email addresses that get deactivated after a while. Right. So, but you know, regardless of that, I think that 751 out of 1,000 is a very good response rate.
It is. Okay. Great. Thanks a lot, Shashank. Thanks, JC.
Okay. I'm sorry that I told those stuff when everything was setting up. Yeah.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I would suggest we enjoy the break. I put on a bit of music. We can catch up with each other, turn on the camera, and see how everyone is doing.
Let's open the slides again. Can we see? Everything's good?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool. So welcome back. Now we will jump into the election, which we will go through all of the candidates. Like I was saying before, this is the first time we've tried something like this, so let's just see how it goes. I'm sure maybe the next time we do this, it could be a better iteration, but we will try something new. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to go through each candidate, like I said before, starting with the technology officer. We will hand over, so in this case to Shashank, the current technology officer. He will go through what happens in this role, his experience in this role. He will then introduce the candidate for this role or candidates. And then we have some prepared questions to ask the candidates already. Yeah. And then we will carry on to the next one, the outreach and partnerships officer, same protocol, but with Davor leading it. Then we'll move on to marketing communications, which is JR will be leading it. Then treasurer with Paul, the secretary, which is me, the events officer, which is Jose Carlos, and then finally the president, which will start with Jerome, but then end with someone else. But yeah, we will start with this now. I will hand over to the first one, which is Shashank. Let's see if we can get this remote control thing to work properly this time.
Yeah.
Have you got the control? Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg, again for handing over to me.
No worries.
Yeah, so here I'm gonna tell some responsibilities of technology officer. So these are basically utilizing budget for our website development. That includes the website infrastructure planning. Currently, we are hosting our website on Host Europe, and we already plan to move it to another server. So that process is still ongoing. Of course, project planning and prioritizing tasks for our developer. So to keep that in our like time period, we need to have some project status meetings with our developers. So right now we are organizing bi-weekly a half-an-hour meeting with our developer to get what has happened, what we need for next 2 weeks, and our long-term plans also will list down in this meeting. Of course, anything else, whatever is already in our alumni board, we can take care of those stuff. For example, I took care of this survey visualization and some other tasks from our alumni board. So these are the basic responsibilities, and in my past 4-month tenure, I really liked it. It helped me to improve my project management skill, and also I was not that much experienced in the website infrastructure, the complete infrastructure. So that also I am now comfortable. Yeah, I want to apply, but I have. Okay, maybe I'll answer it. Yeah, sure, Francisco. I'll answer it later. Yeah, so I really liked this position, and unfortunately, I had a tenure of just 6 months. But yeah, so currently we have some ongoing projects like website migration and server migration, and all cool stuff which we have got from our hackathon. So we are implementing those on our website. So these are the responsibility and my experience with the technology officer. Now, yeah, I'll hand over to Bruno as he applied for our technology officer. First of all, I want to thank him to apply for this position.
Thanks.
And let him introduce himself. Yeah.
Hi everyone. I hope you can hear me correctly. I think I know just 2 or 3 of you, Jose Carlos and Francesco. I think I don't know if somebody else I've already met, but yeah, I'm an alumni from 2020, and yeah, I've had the opportunity of taking part into one of the alumni meeting together with Francesco, and in Porto. And there I let's say got in touch, engaged with the community, and got the opportunity of seeing both the, let's say, enjoyment as I was playing music there. So I was unofficially a technology side, and on the other side I was also a keynote speaker. So I had the possibility of contributing to the let's say the overall knowledge. So thank you again for having me here today. I'm open to answer following questions.
So we don't have any other candidates. So
that's
we have
good.
prepared
A lot of competition. Unless you reapply.
Yeah, I have heard some news, so maybe I can think about that. But it's fine. Yeah, we prepared some of the questions. So as we usually these questions are prepared by previous board member, but for technology officer there was no one before, or there was very short period technology officer before. So I prepared this with the help of Francisco and Damiano.
Okay.
So what is your motivation for applying for the technology officer?
Yeah, so let's say that personally I've been always fascinated and passionate about everything that was related to IT, starting from technology in general, and then everything that was related to security, because then that one was my path. But in the meantime, I always had how to say, external activities with either external clients as I was working, and I'm working as a consultant, or external people that maybe are friends that were related to the management of websites, or completely the redesign of a website, or starting from zero, everything, and big projects that were related to, let's say, build up a website. So I think that at the beginning, when I saw the role, I thought it as it is now, as I understood. So everything that is related from the management of what's in the backend, and I think that it's something very good because it impacts visually. So with the contribution of the developer, we see straight away which is the some of the, let's say, improvements that could be made. So I think it's something motivating for me, and I foresee it as an activity that could always be, let's say, get me in the opportunity of getting in touch with the community. So I always stay in touch with you, get in touch with you, and this is good also for the future. So having an opportunity to stay in the group, let's say.
Yeah, great. Thanks for your nice answer for this question.
You're welcome.
And so you are applying for this position. Have you already seen our website? And if you have seen, then what things you like most, what you want to change, remove, or improve? from our
Yeah,
website?
so I saw the website. Then I don't know, because definitely I didn't have the chance to see the backend, even though I could as an hacker, but this is another thing. But no, I was joking. I saw the website. I like the website. There are some points that I think could help, let's say, the first appeal, because then based on the appeal, you will see whether people will scroll down or not. I mean, based on the first page that they will see, then they decide, okay, let's explore it more or not. I think that at least from my experience, that it's based on Safari browser. Okay, there are some stuff that are related more technically to optimize a bit the page speed. Maybe pages are quite heavy. I don't know. Then you, Shashank, know more than me. But then what I could say from my own implementation of websites, I see that when loading whatever that is related to community activities or opportunities, so the main tab that is at the top, sometimes it takes a bit of time to load. So maybe there are a lot of content for each page. So maybe it could be optimized. And this, I mean, let's say videos or images could be more lightweight, even though still in high definition. Then maybe changing from many, let's say, tabs, I see that some pages, like the first ones, so home, community, and activities, more or less follow the same line. When you go to opportunities or even success stories, the images that represents people are quite, let's say, inconsistent. Let me say, in a sense that I see that there is a line of design that sometimes it goes in one way, sometimes on another. So maybe there could be something to put everything more on the same line, just to see one page organized and structured better. But then this is just ideas that I'm proposing based on 4 or 5 times that I've been scrolling and playing around with the website. Maybe just a little thing on the logo on the top left, in a sense that I don't think it's high definition. I know it's something very, I'm very picky on little stuff, but it didn't look like HD. And maybe, I mean, just because I concentrate on stuff, and maybe some more differentiator when we use hyperlinks, because I saw that the images are clickable, but then unless I scroll over with the mouse, maybe I thought that the text was also clickable, but it was not. So maybe just the differentiation of colors to be corresponsive with some clickable links or not. But then I say that in general there is a lot of content. So I like this idea of keeping like 5 or 6 tabs that are essentials. Maybe I would also say, if students or contributors, let's say, or past alumni, as there is the page, agree to have, let's say, some brief, I don't know, instead of how to say, having a big text when you count some I don't know, or opportunities or success stories, maybe having a brief, I don't know, a brief video. Then I don't know, in terms of optimization, then a brief video for each candidate that say, okay, this is my first experience, I did this and that, very good points for improving, blah blah blah. But then it's something that is more catchy, maybe a video that is auto playing, you know, when you scroll down. I don't know, it's just something to be more captivating. I'm just proposing something based on what I do normally.
Nice to know that you have analyzed our website and you have already planned a lot. Actually, we were having only 15 minutes, so that's good.
10 minutes.
For your for your information, now we are moving to Drupal 8. So
Drupal 8, okay.
Some of them will be resolved, but of course there will be a lot to do. And thanks a lot for spending time for seeing our website and giving this.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And now I'll hand over to Davor for explaining about Outreach and Partnership Officer.
Thank you so much. Hi, hello again to everyone. I'm the Outreach and Partnerships Officer, and as you might have known, this is one of the new positions that wasn't there before. And I started this position when I graduated, when it was possible to apply in an extraordinary meeting during the Berlin graduation in 2019. And so I have been here a bit shorter than other board members, apart from Shashank, of course. So we had to figure out in the beginning exactly how to actually fit this with other roles. So if I go to the next slide, which I don't know how to press, let's see. Yeah, perfect. There are some tasks that, of course, were defined in the beginning, but we realized that it's a very highly changing position and it needs close collaboration with other officers. So, for example, one of the first tasks that was very important was making this sponsorship booklet that was able to be used for the alumni meeting, but also depending on who is going to be your next outreach and partnerships officer, it would need to be tailored for different events or different groups of people. And already on this task, you can see there's a very close collaboration with our Markham officer, which is Jayal. And also one of the big collaborations also with the events officer, which is Jose Carlos currently. There's a lot of emails that as an OPA officer you will have to do because there's a lot that you will have to kind of tie in with to different hackathons, different Tuesday afterworks that we have. Maybe the format will change later on, different events, because in every and each one of these puzzle pieces, you will need to try to find the opportunities and capture the value for the community. And this is very important because you need to really define what the community wants. And every time you're trying to get something that's either going to be a discount or there's an opportunity or there's an online certification that you can afford to the community, it has to be attractive to them. Otherwise, it's not going to be, it's not going to make an impact. Other stuff from the partnership deals is definitely engagement and relationship engagement with the community, which means you will have to have a close relationship with the previous graduates, which means that sometimes they will also maybe be a good partnership deals, or they will even be a speaker at an event. And there's a relationship with existing ecosystem parties that you acquired or we acquired over the years. And also you will all have to be on the lookout for some new ones, because, and this is the thing that actually I wrote when I had an article on the website about my position, is that nobody of us knew that the coronavirus is going to happen. And I had to actually adapt to a lot of things. And I wish it happened much faster, but this is a good thing for whoever is going to become a new officer, that you have to really think creatively and go around some of these obstacles, because at this point with coronavirus, you really have to be agile in the thinking about different partnerships and offers for the community. So this is very in short term. I want to leave some time for our candidate. And then if I go to the next slide, we can see that, woohoo, we have another single candidate who has a tough competition of nobody else. So we'll see how that goes. And I hope I don't butcher his name. His name is Carlos Callejo Peñalba. And I hope I will see we can continue the tradition of the OPA members calling in from very attractive location. He's currently, if I heard him correctly, calling from Gran Canaria, from a very beautiful seaside. So I will give floor to him to present himself in around 30 seconds. So Carlos, if you are here.
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, David. So yeah, I'm on the beach. Maybe it's not the most professional thing, but well, I'm Carlos. Some of you know me already. I'm from Spain. I've been doing data science. That was my track. I already attended 3 annual alumni meetings. So I think I quite follow what we do, right? For this position, well, like, I guess here I have to explain what I probably want to try to do. So I guess the thing that makes more sense to me It's so good we did this alumni survey, and of course I was looking at the results and what are the top priorities, things like the alumni want. And I want to do most of all the communication, all the outreach and partnership I do. I want this to be aligned with that survey. Of course, maybe we need maybe more clarifications about, okay, software license, for example. So we have, that's quite broad. So we need, for example, to make a survey to all the people and see what they really want. Also, something about the workshops or events. What our alumni is interested in, and based on that, then I can contact to the companies, organizations, maybe also like in our community where a lot of people we have a big network of companies and startups and research labs. We can do a lot of things, but we just need to know what to focus on, right? Just because probably I wouldn't like to send, let's say, a lot of emails, not really knowing what I'm doing, right? So yeah, that's also there are some parts of the program, well, of the things I wrote in my candidature. Also, I think maybe south of Europe, I have the feeling we don't engage that much with as alumni. Most of the alumni, like of the south of Europe, they go to the north and then they just stay there. But the thing is, well, of course, there is a lot more entrepreneurship in the north and things like this, but in the south, I think things are changing. Probably we have a lot of opportunities here that we need to explore. Also because I'm from here, maybe, well, that could help in like in the local, well, you were mentioning earlier that, you know, if you have the local language, then it's easier to move things and get deals and partnerships and things like this. So maybe this is a good opportunity for this. But yeah, in general, I just want to, well, I want to say something like, at least this is my feeling. During this last year, because of the coronavirus pandemic, I think the engagement of the community has lowered because of online events. It's not the same as physical, and so I think we have to work a lot, really hard, to show to people, to the alumni, that we want to, we want to deliver value, right? We cannot ask money, for example, to the alumni if we don't show them like cool activities, like things that are gonna give them some value. So
sorry, Carlos, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Thank you for thank you for the introduction. I think this went way over 30 seconds, but sorry, because it was more about my next question was the motivation, which you actually covered. But I want to go into some of the juicy questions, because now that we heard about you and the motivation, I want to ask very specific questions. For example, one of them is if there's a previous partnership that you think was very nice and you want to continue work on, and also if there's something new one that you are thinking of, or anything that you can think of. But first question is if there's something from the previous that you already have some kind of deal that you really think you want to pursue forward.
From my side, well, I guess not really, because I was not maybe in the conversation at that point. But yeah, I don't think so. But,
okay, that's good. But for example, I don't know if you use one of the deals before. Usually, one of our alumni.
I was using the Flixbus one. I really like that one. And then we have this. What's the name? Doppler.
Yeah.
I'm pronouncing it. That one I didn't use it, but in my company I talked about the startup because we also use secrets. And yeah, I was talking with I forgot the name. It was okay, I forgot the name of the alumni, but I was proposing to my company to use their product to see if there was interest. So I was engaging. In the end, we had our own solution, but
yeah, cool. It's a good answer, because basically our best deal is actually with Flixbus, and the most used thing on the website. But with this, actually, we run out of time. So, but we got some nice details from you. I also, you have a tough competition, so it's gonna be good. Okay, next we have Jayal presenting the Marketing Communications Officer. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Davo and Carlos, for your great sharing. I'm Jayal. Very glad to see you all here. I'm a alumna, graduated 2 years ago when I just applied for Alumni Board for the Marketing and Communication Officer role. I worked as a UX designer previously, and now I'm a data engineer based in Stockholm. And working for my alumni community is kind of my voluntary side track. And during my 2 years in the Alumni Board in general, what do I do as a Marcoms officer? First, together with many of our board members here, we represent in different ecosystem events like EIT Digital Conference and panel events in Brussels, and then EIT Alumni Connect in Budapest, etc. And also, I oversee and manage our different communication channels. And one confusing question is, when we mention the communication channels, we not only talking about social media accounts, but also many other important channels like our website, YouTube channel, Flickr photo album, and also like newsletter, annual report, etc. So in order to put some content in our communication channels, we also design and produce different content, like the marketing video we're gonna watch very soon in next breaking. And then our annual report, newsletter, our text, and also graphics, etc. So I'll just keep my introduction short so we can have more time for my predecessor, perhaps Anna. So Anna, if you're here, so could you just introduce yourself and tell us why you applied for this Marcom officer position, please?
Yes. Well, hi, everyone. I think I know maybe half of you. So yeah, I will try to start briefly. So my name is Anna Prudnikova. I graduated from EIT Digital Master School in 2019 from a program Security and Privacy. So I studied in University of Twente and then in Twente. Currently, well, I'm officially residing in the Netherlands, and I'm actually a local representative of the Dutch group of alumni in the Netherlands. Unfortunately, also because of Corona, we haven't had any events for over a year now. So I still think I will keep this position as well. So yeah, I'm ready to answer questions.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Anna. So yeah, thanks for applying for this Marcom position. Why in the beginning, what's the motivation to apply for this position?
Yeah, let's say 2 years ago when I was in Porto, and actually I was sitting with Julia, she's also here, and we were discussing, okay, that would be nice to apply right now. Back then I was not a full alumni still, so I couldn't apply, unfortunately. And already at that moment I was thinking, okay, I actually like the marketing and communication officer position, and I also like the events officer position. Why I choose the marketing and communication one? Well, first of all, I think that my skills, let's say, more tailored toward that, just because of the fact that I do have experience in that field, because as I also mentioned in my application, I work with my mom's company, and actually all the Instagram, Facebook, all the marketing materials are on me. So I know how to use, Photoshop and all this kind of stuff. So that's already good skills. And I also want to improve those skills. So I think it will benefit both the society also, that will improve my skills. And then I can help my mom's company better. Also, let's say, because I'm already a representative of the Dutch local group, I'm already doing events over there. So I also wanted to do something else as an official board member. So that's why I applied for the marketing and officer position.
Sweet, thanks. So you just mentioned you have many previous relevant experience relating to marketing and communications. How do you vision yourself in your mandate? What would you like to improve, and what would you like to change?
Well, you mean from the perspective what I'm going to do for the board, right?
Yeah, anything that you vision that you would like to improve, any aspect.
Yeah, so of course, first of all, I also think that I want to improve myself. So let's say I've been kind of postponing taking some courses on how to promote Instagram accounts better and so on, because I'd say, yeah, maybe I would say I didn't have enough motivation because I was only supporting my mom's company. I think if I have an official position as a marketing and communication officer, it will also allow me to be more motivated to continue self-education from a perspective of what I can do for the alumni, let's say, association. Yeah, I think we can, I already proposed that, so I think we can make the Instagram a bit more personal. At least that's what I feel, because if we include more personal stories from people, let's say more success stories, I think it will send a better tune. Then I also want to a bit extend the communication channels, as you already mentioned, it shouldn't be only the online ones. So I think personally, I really enjoyed the open board meeting. So I think if we can promote that more so people can join, maybe for half an hour, just to see what the board is doing, to see that they've taken it seriously and they work hard to do that. That will also make people more motivated to contribute more. Then I really like something that we are doing now in the company, because I'm a part of the work council. So let's say also taking, let's say, care of the employees of the company. And recently we introduced on top of the newsletter also the Q&A sessions. So let's say half an hour we are doing it every 3 months for half an hour or 1 hour. We are having this open call, so everyone can join, and then we can discuss the questions which people have, or maybe some concerns, because it's always like you see it from your perspective and you think you're right. But when you have like 1,000 people in the society, and then you can listen, of course, not to 1,000 of them, but even 10% of them, I think it will really help us to move forward into the right direction. And I also think that probably there will be a question later, how can we start with engaging now? I think that would be a good way to start engaging, to ask people, okay, how do you want to proceed right now? Because yeah, we're still in Corona. We still don't have opportunity to fully meet in person. And we see that the engagement right now is way lower than it was before. Just ask people, especially active people who are already here and who also can do that more. Just ask them, what are your ideas?
Yeah, very good points. I like your ideas about very personal Instagram story sharing, and also have more open board meetings so that we can listen to opinions from different perspectives. And you just talk about engagement. In terms of communication, how can we just put on more efforts to engage different alumni, both like new graduates and also maybe people graduated a few years ago has already some like professional experience?
Yeah,
maybe it's a hard question.
Yeah, that's a hard question. So that's why I really think that it makes sense to start arranging those Q&A sessions and ask people what do they think. Because I think you also, when I was at the open board meeting, you showed us, okay, what, let's say, communication channels people prefer now. So we saw that, for example, the Telegram group, the channel was not that active, let's say. But I'm not sure if there was a question, let's say, but okay, what do you think will be a good way to do that? Personally, for example, in the Netherlands, the LinkedIn is really, really popular and everybody's using it. I use it for work. So let's say when I open it for work and then I see the digital alumni page, it also, from my perspective, should be way more active because I open it, I need it anyway, probably way more often than I open Facebook right now. So I would start with those channels.
Yeah, good answers. And thank you a lot, Anna. I'm looking forward to your future work. And we can have more like one-on-one sessions to talk about details.
Yeah.
And because of time limit, yeah, thank you. So I'll just pass over to next treasurer. Pao, would you like just to take over?
Yes. Can we go to the next slide? And the next one? Yes. So I'm Paul, I'm the current treasurer, and my main task is to make sure that all our money is correct. And what do we mean with correct? Of course, we mean that the balance sheets are going to match. So we have a certain income and a certain expense, and we want to make sure that this is right. But on top of that, we also want to make sure that we are following all the regulations. And we have several regulations in place. We have regulations in place from a non-profit foundation perspective. These are made by the Belgian government. We have regulations in place from EIT Digital. For example, regarding procurement, that every procurement above 5,000 euros has to be at least 3 candidates. And yeah, these are things where I look into, and I do this partly together with the president. And this means that I always prepare the expenses we're gonna have, and then the president approves them, and then we send out the money to yeah, the right people. And what is important here is that we let the money do the talking. So what do I mean by that? Is that I mean that the area we like to focus the most on, that is where also most of the money should go into. So this means that we see ourselves often spending quite a lot of money on the annual alumni meeting, but also on local events that we organize and on the website that is still quite actively used. Okay, then as treasurer, I make sure that everybody gets paid on time. And this is important because you can have, of course, unhappy people when they are paid late, but you can also get into financial trouble if you don't pay on time. To make sure that I can pay on time, I make sure that I track the complete cash flow. So now I would like to go to the next slide to ask some questions to the potential new treasurer. Jacco, are you there?
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Good, okay. So I would like to ask some questions to see, but maybe you can first introduce yourself.
Yes, of course. Thanks for the opportunity. Well, I invite you to read the slides for my character description. Save some time. Yeah, I'm in a position where I kind of want to put myself out there and contribute to an alumni association. And in this case, the one that applies to me is the EIT Digital one, to kind of prepare myself for, life after school, kind of making friends around Europe. And, in this case, getting the kind of, getting the job done and keeping the wheels rolling. So back to you, Paul.
Okay, yeah. I would like to ask some questions. Have you got any experience before as a treasurer or managing someone else's money?
From a university background, I have kind of several courses on financial management, but day-to-day activity I'm a little bit lacking in. So the intention that I have over here is to kind of get that sort of credibility and day-to-day operational experience. So this is a learning opportunity for me, the way I see it.
Yes, so it's really good. You also then didn't have any contact with accountants or people from the finance business, or did you?
Well, I mean, let's just put it this way. I do spend time, on a weekly basis talking to, my own accountants, but
okay.
Yeah.
Then I guess you have the right attitude. But I would like to ask if you see our money and you want to plan the upcoming year's expenses, in which areas would you like to spend money or focus the community attention towards?
Well, I have to say that I don't know the insides of your, cash situation and your asset situation at the board, because that's not something that I have information about at this point. But largely since in the treasurer position, kind of I'm in a situation where I get to participate in kind of forming, in some sense, the strategy of the EIT board, along with the president and the rest of the board in this cohesive leadership team position. But I think that we should be spending the time and effort of the EIT board, of EIT Digital's alumni board, to kind of help the students as well as the alumni kind of re-enter life post corona. So basically that means kind of facilitating this kind of interaction in the real world again. So basically kind of directing the budget toward event organization, I would maybe in that case say.
Okay, that sounds good. That were all questions from my side. I think then we can move over to Craig, who will talk about the secretary position.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cool, thank you. Let me just sort my phone out. Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Craig. I'm the secretary. I'll just take you through like some of my tasks before we move on to the candidates. So what does the secretary do? It's kind of a bit different, the secretary role, from all the others, because it's mainly based on scheduling and action points and summaries and planning things. But the main thing that I do that's regular is the weekly meetings. We meet once a week. And the main thing the secretary does in this is to plan the meeting. So collect all the agenda points, put them in a document, do all the meeting minutes, make sure everything's like together. Also, as we're in the middle of the meeting, to pull out the action points from what people are saying or the discussions that we're having and assign them to people. So at the end of the meeting, everybody, all the things have been discussed and everybody knows what their tasks are for the next week. This is the regular meeting. We also try and do physical meetings, at least 2 a year. So it's like every half year we would do a physical meeting. And this is kind of the same procedure, but kind of more long-term. So instead of weekly every day, it's more you collect the points throughout the half the year and it goes into the physical meeting, which you then prepare the same sort of meeting minutes with action points and make sure everybody knows what they're assigned to do, kind of on a bigger scale than a weekly meeting. Because of these, it kind of means that you need to also be on track of schedules. You need to plan a schedule. If we're ever meeting physically, it's planning schedules. I put an image on here, which is the schedule that we actually did for this meeting right now. It's a typical thing. You just kind of figure out everything that we want to do in the meeting, the times that we want to do it, and kind of share everything out equally, which we would then discuss and finalize. But also we have like a much bigger schedule, which is the yearly schedule with all the planned events throughout the year, which you must then also keep on top of, bring into the weekly meetings when necessary, bring into the physical meetings. It's a lot of planning and a lot of scheduling. Usually at the end of the physical meetings, I would also do a summary. So, and this would turn into a summary of the action points we want to do, but also a summary of what happened in the meeting, which would turn into a post that we would put on the website so everybody is clear, like the entire community is clear about what we want, what we've been talking about and what we aim to achieve for the next half year. And then also I support all the other events and activities that are going on in the same sort of way. Really quickly, yeah, I have time. Another thing that's part of the secretary role is the membership. I'm usually the one who does all the validating the members, approving members, checking that they're actually valid members with EIT Digital, and then keeping the KPIs of the numbers of the membership. This is something which lies on the responsibility of the secretary at the moment, but is usually supported by the community coordinator. But just so it's there that this would be the responsibility if we don't have the community coordinator with us. And then quickly, just to talk about my experience, I learned a lot from this role. I came into this wanting to be more organized from my job, and I definitely learned that. I learned how to be more organized. I learned how to manage tasks a lot better. Also, hosting and planning events and scheduling things was a complete new thing to me, and I've learned so much from it, and I'm very grateful from that. But also because this role is so involved with planning and scheduling things, you can actually bring stuff in. And I think also, like Shashank was saying and other people are saying, you can also bring whatever skills you have to this role, and you can do other things as well. You know, you can support other team members. So I also see my role as a lot of supporting other team members too. So yeah, and that's from me. I will now introduce the candidate, which is, thank you so much for applying, Julia.
Hi everyone, thanks for the introduction. And so my name is Julia. I also know a couple of people in this round, mainly from the alumni annual meeting in Porto. And yeah, I graduated in 2018, which now it seems like such a long time ago. Time flies, right? I studied in Budapest and then in Trento. As in the software and service architectures major, which right now doesn't exist anymore, as far as I'm aware, unfortunately. And yeah, right now I'm living in Austria.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for applying. It's really great. I have some questions like everyone else. So the first one would be, what is your motivating for applying for the secretary role specifically?
Okay, so my motivation in general of applying to the board comes also from mainly from this annual meeting in Porto, where I really felt connected to the community. More specifically on why I chose a secretary. Well, to me, this seems like the most useful position in the sense that you can take out the most experience that you can then apply at your work. So it was kind of also a selfish decision. And on the other hand, I think I am very organized in general, and I usually end up doing this kind of things like writing meeting minutes and sending out agendas and setting up calls a lot in my company and also even in previous roles, because I find it really important that when there is a meeting, it's not only the participants of that meeting that know of what actually happened and what were the action items, but also the whole, let's say, set of stakeholders that should be aware of these decision points. So I actually enjoy this, and I mean, from what you said, Craig, seems like a lot of work, but also you get a lot of experience out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. You can say that you learned a lot, and you can take it back to your work for sure. I definitely experienced that. So you already touched on like you consider yourself an organized person. Could you elaborate a bit more about like what specifically makes you an organized person?
Yes. So, well, in general, I like to keep be on top of my to-dos. So I have this system of where I'm following more or less this get things done method, which the essence is that you gather just task, incoming ideas, tasks, whatever, you gather them in a specific place, and then you take, let's say, 1 day of a week or 2 times a week some time to go through them, sort them, and then act upon them. So there's nothing that is really slipping through this system. You get everything done. I feel really productive because of this, and it's helping me a lot. And in general, I don't know, I organize documentation well, so both in the company and in my private life.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks. Have you ever had any like experiences specifically with organizing, say, like an event, a meeting, a workshop, or something at work maybe? And like, how did you approach this sort of organization?
In one of my previous jobs, I was, well, not really that in charge of, but kind of stepped into this community building role, where I was trying to build a community of machine learning practitioners within the company. So I set up a lot of meetings, but it was like rather a small group, so like 10, 12 people. We just mostly had meetings and workshops, but then we also facilitated some meetups with external people, so where I was the one in contact with the meetup host, who was an external person. We mainly just provided the event and some speakers. So I have just a bit of experience in this sense.
Well, it's cool. It already sounds like good enough, and you'll learn a lot more, I assume, in the secretary position. So like the final question would be, what sort of visions do you have for the community? Not only like for secretary, but then how would you then support the visions that you have for the community through this role as a secretary?
Thanks. This is a great question. I was hoping you would ask. So I think the whole community is really based on the personal connections. At least that's what I like most about the alumni community. And since we are still not able to meet physically, and I honestly don't think that's going to happen in the autumn, even though I would also really love to, I would like to focus on engaging in different ways. For example, what we are doing in our company is we are having this mystery coffee thing, where you would gather, like people would sign up, and then every week you pair two people so that they have a half an hour coffee chat. And this is, to me, would be a great way, or I think this would be a great way to engage the community, because nobody has to do really anything. They get to talk to someone, share professional or personal experiences. And I think maybe I'm not alone with this, but people in lockdown, or maybe they are living in a different country, they might feel kind of lonely. So having someone that they can talk to from a shared, let's say, community is, I think, something very, very nice. So basically, I would prefer to go rather slow towards actually physical events, and keep more focus on hybrid or online events or local events without like international traveling and hundreds of people. And besides this, what I would really like our community to do is to stand up a bit more towards social or environmental issues. So try to volunteer together, for example, because that's also a very great team building activity. To, I don't know, go to your local shelter or dog shelter, or I don't know, and help out. So I think that aspect is a bit missing right now from our alumni community.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds great. Looking forward to see these plans go into action. But yeah, unfortunately our time's up now. But thank you once again for applying. Very nice answers to the questions. I would now hand over to Jose Carlos to talk about the events officer.
Thank you, Craig. And I'm happy that now finally we're getting into some actual competition here. And this is not, I wouldn't say not rare in our community, because usually the events officer position is one of the most competitive in the Alumni Board elections. And this year is not the exception. So we have two candidates running for this position. And first, thanks to both candidates for having taken this step forward. And before we enter the Q&A, which will have slightly different mechanism because we have now two participants, I will explain more about the position itself. So please, Craig, if you could go ahead to the next slide. What does the events officer do? Well, I would summarize in one sentence. It's all about the things that are forbidden, but be forbidden right now because of the Corona situation. So, you can imagine that it's not the best time to be an events officer during a pandemic, but there is more to it than just organizing events. And I would say that it's also about the internal engagement with our community. So the events officer is kind of the internal facing member of the board towards the members of the foundation. And I have just highlighted here 3 boxes of these groups that the events officer will normally interact with. First of all, the events officer would help any alumni who are interested in hosting and organizing local events. So this means that potentially you might need to provide support to anyone who has put an idea for an event forward. The second is that the events officer also needs to continuously provide information and support, and I would say also training and guidance to our local representatives. These are our most engaged community members in different locations. And the events officer acts also as some sort of link between the Alumni Board and the local representatives. And finally, the events officer also needs to be the man or woman of the people and get to engage and interact with alumni and also students from different cohorts of the master school. And the idea is that this is potentially a way of recruiting new local reps and also ensuring the scalability and growth of our community. So as you can see, there is a lot of internal communications and engagement with different members. Now, Craig, could you please also go to the next slide? And following the tradition in alumni meetings, I had to put some meme here, and this is a very good way of explaining what the events officer needs to communicate to our members most of the time, that we got the money for events. And this is money that unfortunately in many cases just goes underspent because some alumni are not aware that we have funding for local events, or simply because they consider that it is too difficult and time consuming and complicated to organize events. And here's where the events officer enters in that question mark. So phase 2, you see that phase 1 is, well, you collect event ideas. And phase 2 is that you will get money back for your expenses in the events. But what happens in between? That question mark is where the events officer comes into play. And how this goes is that usually the member of the community that wants to put forward some event would have some very vague idea and then fill in a very simple form that we have on our website. There are also some guidelines to follow and some tips that tell you how more or less to structure this event proposal. But the events officer needs to help to concretize those things and make sure that it is reasonable and feasible to do the event. And then the events officer will also suggest some budget to the rest of the alumni board. So the events officer would not decide alone what's the budget that will be allocated to local events, but this is normally something that's discussed with the whole board in the board meetings every week. But the events officer has, let's say, a very strong or almost, let's say, the baseline opinion on how much money should be allocated to each local event, depending on the number of participants, for example. And once this budget has been approved, then the events officer will follow up through the planning of the event and also remind our alumni to take pictures and document what happens so that we can also inform the rest of our community later on through the website that this event took place. And finally, after the event has been executed, and this is where we move to phase 3, the events officer will also ensure that the person who organized the event will collect all the receipts and invoices and fill in an expense reimbursement form so that Paul would not get angry that some of the rules have been broken, but ensure that all finances are correct. And then finally, we proceed with the reimbursement of expenses for the events. So having said that, now we will move on to the Q&A session. And thanks to Luca and to Vincent for applying for this position and taking this initiative. So I will introduce first one by one, each one of you. So, or let you introduce yourselves rather in 30 seconds or 45 seconds. So let's go ahead with Luca now.
Okay.
45 seconds, yeah, it's okay.
So yeah, alumni from 2019, I studied data science, and it was my job until 1 month ago. I just quit my job in a corporate in KPMG, where I was working as data scientist, because I'm actually starting my own business as a workshop and facilitator. And I'm also collaborating right now, of course, in organizing events and hosting events for digital nomads that want to get together, learn more, and share skills. And well, I'm actually based in Europe. I'm embracing also the digital nomad lifestyle. And well, I really love the Alumni Board. I engage with the Alumni Board now since the very beginning of my studies. I knew Francesco Bonaniban since like 3 months after I start my journey with EIT Digital, and well, I decided to candidate because I really want to give back and receive exactly what I received from this community.
Thank you very much, Luca. Now let's move on to Vincent.
Hi everyone. So I've been graduated last year from KTH and UPM. And yeah, I've been involved in the community for the first time when I was able to join the meeting in Porto. I was not yet an alumni then, but I mean, I was so happy to be part of it, and I rediscovered it. Before that, that was a bit more abstract for me. And yeah, I just want to continue engaging myself in the community, and that's why also I made a talk last year during the pandemic, when we had these online talks of lifelong learning, sorry. And more recently, I started working with Jayao and some other alumni on building a Slack community. That's just a prototype, but the idea was to build an online community for designers and HCI related professional alumni.
Thank you very much for the introductions. And now for the Q&A. Perfect. Thanks, Craig, for preparing this slide, because I thought we had to jump back and forth the slides, but this is a surprise new slide that I didn't imagine we would have. So what we will do is the following. I will ask the same question to both of you, Vincent and Luca, and then each one of you would have about 1 minute to answer the question or give your thoughts about it. And I will do so that we switch, so who answers first, and then the next question, we will swap, and the other candidate will answer that question first. And without further ado, and also, by the way, I have to welcome in this Q&A also my predecessor, Mr. Bobo, who's here. I think Lena is not in the list of participants. I don't see, but Bobo is here, so he will also join me for some questions to these two events officer candidates. But first, I would like to bring up the elephant in the room, or rather the virus in the room. And as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has seriously restricted the possibilities to organize any face-to-face events all over Europe, in some countries with more extent than others. So considering this situation, why did you decide to apply for the events officer position? And in this case, I would let Vincent go first.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's in one sense, I have to say that I have a small hope that it's done by a year, that it will be behind us. And so I know that that will be complicated, still complicated for a year, but then that will be done. And the second point is that in the end, how we deal with it, I think you deal with it in a great way, even if, of course, physical events are much more powerful. They are creating real bonds. The online events with how you reformatted it with online talks, I think worked well, and that was a great way to still federate and gather the community. So in that sense, that's also this type of events that I would like to keep on doing and keep on organizing, going in this direction. And also a second point is that I believe that we can focus more on local events as well, which are more doable in this time, and or also an easiest way to gather alumni and to create connection.
Thank you very much. And indeed, there is a big opportunity, also a responsibility of reactivating the engagement of our community due to the pandemic. So Luca, please, same question. Why did you decide to apply to this position?
Well, I think because mainly I love challenges. I'm really motivated by challenges, and I always try to think that the future is bright. So there is a chance for us to help and improve and get better and engaging our communities. And this is what I really would like to work for. Of course, it's difficult right now to have physical meetings, but I think gradually, and you can see already right now, there is a reopening. So I think one of the main focus will be on local communities and events for small gatherings. And these help a lot in keeping the community engaged, because I think that everything in a way starts from the bottom. And when the community will be engaged locally, then there will be more enthusiasm also to join something at a broader level. So definitely this is one of my motivation. And well, I work in a corporate and I'm now working with online entrepreneurs and digital nomads, and I see that there are best practices and ways to keep people engaged also online, and I would like to bring these best practices and also test and learn more of what works and what doesn't.
All right, thanks. And this is a good bridge towards my next question, which was precisely related to engagement. And I will start this time by Luca. So what is your plan or some of your strategies that you have on mind to increase the engagement of our community members, and especially to recruit new local representatives in different locations?
Yeah, first of all, I think that the role of event officer is overlapping a lot with many roles within the board. And I've heard a lot of very good proposals already from the other candidates. And most of them are already in my planning, such as the virtual coffees and the open board or open board meetings and so on. But yeah, like, I will try to bring the best practices to have more engagement at online level, and then focus also on the local communities first. And then for the local representative, I think I will just do what is maybe easy to do, but is leverage the network that we have, because I have been mentoring myself basically, or being like onboarding a new cohort of students in Milan for the second year of my master, and also after I graduated. And I see that this way is very easy to actually make people interested. And I make a lot of connections with many people, and I will just use word of mouth and connection, friends of friends within the network to understand who can be the new local representative who is interested in this, because in the end it's all about the network and all about the people that are within the network, and maybe just throw an email to see who is interested is not going to be as effective as like direct contact.
Thank you. And now for the same question to Vincent. How are you planning, or do you have any ideas on how to increase the engagement of our internal community members, and especially to identify and recruit new local representatives? These are the most active members in our community.
It's part of one point of my plan was also to engage more the new grades, like the new batches, to also add some, let's say, create some engagement for the long term. So even if they are not yet alumni, like in 2 years after the mandate, that they will still be here, and I hope like create more engagement in the long term, also creating a stronger community on that way. And the second part also is to focus the energy on local events. As I mentioned earlier, I believe that's the best way right now to create engagement, and also maybe if that's necessary to contact directly some alumni in these locations to co-organize some events and create the motion locally, let's say.
Thank you very much. And now for the next question, I would like to give the floor to my predecessor, Mr. Bobo. Are you there?
Always.
Man, take it away.
All right. So yeah, Vincent and Luca, I think you both are quite very amazing candidates with 2 different personalities, and you know, kudos for taking that bold step of applying for a board position within the alumni. You know, the more we grow, you know, the more things get tough. But at the end of the day, it's all rewarding. So thank you also everybody that is applying for a position in the alumni. So we've been hearing about a lot of new initiatives coming up, open board meetings, coffee, gatherings, online events, and all of that. Those things are very nice, yeah? But Luca and Vincent, please tell us, what do you think you would do better and different from, you know, your predecessors, myself and JC, for example? Like engaging our members is like our 99 problems, right? And events are like the bedrock of what makes us an organization or an association. What do you think makes you stand out for this position? What's your selling point according to our business model canvas? Luca, you please go first.
All right. So what make me stand out, I think, is my personality. I'm really socially and outgoing, and I will use these to actually engage on a personal level with as many people as I can. I know it's very time-consuming. It's quite effort intense, but I really love it. I really like to be there, be outside and speak with as many people as I can to always gather feedback and when they see my face out there, they see, oh, there is someone that is actually doing something for us, and maybe I also want to collaborate. I think this is going to be one of my main points. And also, I have been building communities and engaging already with a student association that I developed, I built, and also with the actual collaboration I'm having with digital nomad and so on. I'm always with people and speaking with people. So this is, I think, my strength point. And what I can do better, I'm not sure, because like JC really probably put the threshold very high. He has been a very amazing event officer, and I was often in contact with him. So I think he really had a great job, and it's going to be tough to actually do better, but I will do my best.
You'll be all right. You'll be fine. Thanks for that answer, Luca. Vincent, please.
Yes. So, I mean, I'm already engaged in the community, so I think you already know me, for some of you, at least for the talks I did, and that I think I'm more project driven, and I think that's what matters a lot for this type of position, to be able to go until the end, to keep on track, and once necessary to work harder when it's needed. And the second point is that I'm I think good combo in terms of experience, that I have some experience in organizing events in my past, as I explained the candidature. When I was co-organizing the events for the Food Help Association Honest in France. But still, I have so much to learn, and that's what keeps me motivating. I'm applying to this position because I want to learn more, also to become better on what I'm doing on organizing events. About what the predecessor have made, I would say that I think what Jose Carlos made with training the local representative was a great idea. I think it's necessary because it's create more engagement for them, and also it allows us to have a higher quality of events. So we don't only give back to this representative, but also to the community, improving the quality of these events. So I believe that's something I would like to keep, but also to develop further, to be more oriented towards this local representative, and also learning from the community, engaging more with it. Maybe that's my designer background, but I believe that we should first check how people are thinking, what they want before providing something. Of course, it's not always as easy. That's not the most efficient also way to do it, but I believe it's what can provide the best experiences, and especially for events. So yes, the last point is engaging with our community and trying to perform maybe more surveys, more interviews, and other form of research, let's say.
All right, great. Thanks for that answer. Both of you are quite very big mouthed, though, I must say, in a good way, though. One more question. So as it is a voluntary mandate for 2 years, you know, how certain are you in managing the entire expectations? And you know, can we take your word as a bond? Yeah, we don't want a situation where you would come up with all of these big plans, and you know, after some couple of months you would leave and the plans would die with you leaving, for example. We hope it doesn't happen this time around, but yeah, how certain are you in managing these expectations? How we need to trust your words? You know, we need you to be here for the next 2 years, and let us know if you can manage all of what is coming your way. Luca, please. You can go first.
Yes. So I would say I just believe in the community, and this is what keeps me here. And I'm not gonna let anyone down. I have always been loading myself with side projects, and I've never been a problem since I'm like 14. I'm like just doing extra activities, extracurricular activities, and so on. And since I was in my first year of EIT, when Francesco approached me, and then he actually helped me organizing events for my student association in Milan, that I really wanted to do the same in the future for someone else that wanted to actually organize events, and this is the opportunity to do so. And the commitment of 2 years actually seems quite short in time. Actually, 2 years passed so long, and I would like to stick around for maybe even a bit longer. I was actually discussing with Jose Carlos, like, should I actually apply for president at a certain point? Let's start small. I want to really give the best in the case I will be event officer, but I really look at this as a long-term thing, because I really love the networking that we have, the network, the community, and I would like to be part of it for as long as I can.
Right. Thanks a lot, Luca. Vincent?
Yes, so maybe I can justify it with my motivation. That's I'm motivated by creating these expenses for the community in a way of giving back to the communities. That's my motivation, and And second one, that's as I explained, I'm want to learn, and this I know once I'm getting that, I will go until the end. And that's why I waited to be 100% sure to be available for the next 2 years to apply. That explains a bit the late candidature, the late application, sorry. And yeah, simply I'm also just motivated by people. That's I would say my main, let's say, drive. And I don't see myself just stopping at some point, like at least just stopping for the committee to doing that. So for sure I go until the end, yeah. And I hope further.
Okay, great. Well, good luck to both of you. Before I hand over to Mr. Carlos, just a word of advice. Since this is, one of the most lucrative positions, I would say, both of you would have to find a way to have a very aggressive way of making people vote for both of you. I mean, spam people in a good way, right? And just try to have a more personal relationship with everybody in the alumni. And you're going to be all right. I mean, you still have JC and the rest of the old board members and Mr. President that would always support you guys whenever needed. So yeah, that's it from my end. Over to you, JC. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And I also just want to thank both of you, Vincent and Luca, for applying for this position. I have to say that I have mixed feelings because I think you're both great candidates, and I'm happy that there is actually a competition for this position. But on the other hand, I know that there can be only one winner. So I wish both of you the best of luck and that you don't get discouraged. Regardless of the result, as you can see, there is so much to do in our community and there are so many opportunities to get involved. So no matter what the result is, please keep these good spirits and interest in engaging with the community. And you know that there is plenty of opportunities to do so through all our local groups and different communities. So I think with that, we can close this Q&A with the candidates for events officer. And I believe I have now to hand the word to Jeroen, is it? Is Jeroen going to ask himself the questions? Or what, tell us what is going to happen here.
I am going to introduce the position and share some of my experiences before we move on to the mystery candidates that we have for this position. So Craig, if you could move to the next slide. So I think from my perspective, the most important work of the president is really to take care of the rest of the team and to take care of the rest of the board, to take care of the organization, and to make sure that everyone is doing well. When I was taking over, my predecessor Francesco told me, "You're a bit of a wild card as the president," and I kept that in my mind. I think that's one of the key elements of being a president, trying to make sure that the planning among all the board members adds up, supporting everyone wherever I can, making sure that the rest of the board is happy, and that we can have a very nice, not at all staged laughing picture like you can see here in this slide. But yeah, if you can move to the next slide, Craig. Thank you. Beyond that, there's some more things that I've mostly been busy with. Both of these photos predate the coronavirus pandemic, but of course the work of the president involves quite a lot of external representation of our foundation, of our community, towards other stakeholders. This can be EIT Digital, this can be the EIT, this can be the EIT alumni, or this can be potentially other groups of stakeholders that we deal with. I sometimes help Davor with partnerships. I help the rest of the board members wherever we can. So that's also part of the job. And then lastly, on the next slide, Craig, there are meetings, many meetings that have taken place over the course of 2 years. Of course, many of them online. Here are also some pictures from before when we were still able to travel. But of course, there are different bodies and different people that I interact with on a daily, weekly basis. Of course, there's our own board. There's the governing board that the president sits on. There's, of course, the EIT Digital that we need to interact with. There are the EIT alumni and their board that I represent our community in. And then there is the EIT and various other stakeholders that we also deal with. The biggest achievements for me, if you could move to the next slide, Craig, would be really that we have worked on creating more transparent procedures. And I think this mostly went into the background. So it was intentional that some of you guys didn't notice these things, but we have been working on introducing some financial regulations, gaining a bit more of control over our budget. Some of you will remember the working group survey that we introduced and the various open calls that we organized for the annual meeting, but also to collaborate with EIT Digital and to involve more alumni. Of course, all of these things have been achievements that are carried out as a group with the whole board, but I think they're, for me, definitely highlights of the last 2 years. And most importantly, for me is as well, it's not an highlight that COVID happened. I can't say that, but our response to it, I think, has been a highlight over the years. I mean, unfortunately, we had to cancel the annual meeting, but I'm still very happy in the way that we managed to do that. And we managed to refund everyone that had paid a fee. I know many events have not managed to do that. We managed to move our events online, organize Tuesday afterworks, alumni hacks, a startup contest. We have been doing our best to keep the morale high in an online fashion. So this is something that I'm definitely very proud on. And then, because I'm not going to ask questions to myself, that would be a little bit awkward. We will rely on my predecessor, Francesco, to be so kind and be the host and the moderator of this session.
Well, thanks for inviting me first. I guess the first question I'd have, and that is very surprising for me, is that after 2 years, you still want to be part of this. So what is the strongest motivation for you that keep you pushing and staying in, despite the workload and despite all the circumstances and whatever happened in this damn year?
Yeah, no, it's a good question and a fair question as well. Well, I think I have to say on the one hand that I'm a little bit weird. I have a weird personality in which I somehow need to be volunteering always. I've always had a volunteering thing to do on the side, so I'm somehow used to that additional workload, and I think that's been a very normal part of my life. But honestly, the main reason that I decided to reapply is that I feel that this is a difficult time for the EIT Digital alumni community. I mean, the last 2 years were definitely a challenge at times to make sure that we could deal with this pandemic. But I believe now a very important moment comes where we basically set back a couple of years in time, and we need to start working on re-engaging the community, making sure that we get everyone on the same page. And I think I would be very knowledgeable and experienced now to help with that. And then the second reason for me to reapply is that because of the whole coronavirus pandemic, I have not managed to implement many of the plans that were there when I applied in the first place. So my work is not done yet.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the same situation when I decided to reapply again in 2017, because I felt that it was a key moment for the community, for someone to kind of continue the progress. The question I have for you is, what would you have done different? I mean, you came into a very weird situation in a very difficult time. What would you have done different looking back in the past 2 years?
It's also a good question. I think I wouldn't do many things differently. I think there's many good things that we have done and that I'm very proud of that we managed to achieve. Of course, there's a couple of things that I regret. I think one of the key challenges we had, of course, was the coronavirus pandemic, which was completely beyond our control. And I cannot really change much about, I believe. A second key thing that I think, or that I regret from the last couple of years, is that we had a couple of board members resigning. And I think there we could have, as a board, as a president, I could have done things differently to make sure that people were more comfortable, more on board, more on the same page in terms of understanding what the workload is about, but also creating an environment in which they feel appreciated and recognized, rewarded for the work, to say it in that way. So for me, this is at the same time one of the goals for the next years as well, that I think we need to continue strengthen our incentives, strengthen our thank yous for the board members, so that it's not just 2 years of work that you put in, but there are also many things that you can get out and benefit from.
Cool, thanks. I mean, quite transparent as well. And I guess the main key and the main issue and the main point that you will face in the upcoming months is that, of course, despite the pandemic and also due to the pandemic, the engagement within the community is going down to a minimum. What are the concrete steps that you plan to do right now to put it up, considering that basically nobody likes online events? What did you learn from this event, from the past annual meeting that was online, and from the Tuesday after work or whatever, that could help you increase the engagement in the upcoming months?
So, well, I hope it's a team effort across the rest of the board as well. I've heard many good ideas from the others that I think we should all work together towards making a reality. For me personally, there is really only one way to increase the engagement, and I think that would be to start organizing physical events again that are not taking place online. I think these events are really the best we can do given the circumstances. But looking at the engagement, looking at all of us, looking at the fact that we can't just, sit together, grab a beer, talk with each other, and that there is something that creates excitement beyond the talks and the interesting things that we learn. For me, it is essential that we go back to organizing some form of events rather sooner than later. And yeah, I think as well there is a lot of work that is going to be need to be put in from us as a board. I think we need to restart from where we were a couple of years ago, trying to get all the graduates that are currently graduating into our community while they are still fresh. We need to reach out to individuals that are further away from the program to drag them back. Plus, I think we need to also look at the alumni survey and see what kind of events we can organize to attract more and different people. But it will really be a time, I think, in which we have to work hard to get everyone back into following our pages, attending our meetings, and making sure that they're up to speed on what's happening.
Thank you. I don't know if you have time for another question or my time is over.
I think we can fit like one more in, and then.
Okay. So yeah, how do you think we will fit in the new framework of the EIT and the whole EIT alumni community and the EIC or the players out there? What has happened in these past 2 years, and what is the outlook in the next two?
So there's many questions in there, and they're getting quite difficult for some of you to understand, maybe. But I think, or for the rest of the people that are not so aware of the EIC and so on, that there has been a trend going on within the European Union and within the EIT to to reduce the budget, to reduce the public money spent on the EIT, and to increase the private financing that is going into the KICs like EIT Digital. So in the past, we have already seen that other alumni communities started to lose some of their budget. Thankfully, we still were on the good side because our budget was relatively low compared to others. And I think in the next years, this challenge will only continue. I think we need to find ourselves a place, find ourselves a purpose in a sense, so that we have a reason to exist and that we can justify why funding is necessary for the things that we do. At the same time, I really believe that this is not very difficult because we have quite a nice value proposition. We are a community of experts, many people in interesting places. And I think just the networking component alone already gives us the right to exist. But over time, together with the board, I think we further need to continue defining our identity as a foundation. Our role in the EIT alumni and in the broader umbrella for me is also one as the digital experts. We are the EIT Digital alumni, the graduates from the EIT Digital Master School and other programs. So we bring that. We have our own community in which we carry out interesting activities. But the EIT alumni is offering a nice platform to collaborate, to make sure that we can interact with others, that we can expand our horizon and do things together. But we do need to keep our individual identity and our focus, our clear purpose that we outline. And I think if we do that, then we can perfectly well negotiate a place for us to exist also within the broader EIT alumni community and everything that is happening there.
Thanks, Jerome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. So yeah, thank you once again to all the candidates. It's really nice to hear from everyone. So yeah, good luck to everyone. We will have another break now until 5 o'clock. At 5, we will have our keynote speaker who will come in, and then we will have some closing words and the opening of the elections. So yeah.
Before the break, we have something very nice to show you. Some of you guys may have already seen it on our social media. But since we had some resources left last year in the end of the year due to the cancellation of many events, we worked on the production of some videos, of which we would like to share one with you now going into the break. So let me take over the screen. Sorry, Craig.
Go for it.
And then if someone can switch off the lights the moment the video starts, then I think we would all be good.
I used to think that I was just part of an ongoing process. No clear beginnings, no end in sight, just an ever-flowing stream of actions and decisions. As an EIT Digital Master's student, I was wondering what I would do after graduation. What should I do with ideas when they come to me? I needed a support structure before my ideas could materialize and take shape. Then I met a senior student who introduced me to EIT Digital's Alumni Foundation, the global community of Europe's tech innovators. My ideas finally had a place to grow. Through the weekly Tuesday after work sessions, I connected with fellow EIT Digital students and alumni living all over Europe. I was exposed to the different ways my colleagues were actualizing their ideas, and I learned about the practicalities of tech-driven entrepreneurship. Lessons you don't always get in class. With all the advice I received and the preparation I undertook with my mentors and colleagues, I finally brought my pitch to the Alumni Foundation's annual startup contest, which my team won. And just like that, we embarked on the adventure of a lifetime. My vision thrives among a fellowship of exciting entrepreneurs as we build upon each other's concepts, strengthening them to withstand the scrutiny of potential partners and investors. We build trust in the community and help new graduates find opportunities to develop their projects. The entrepreneurial spirit runs through each of our members, gathering energy along the way. These are projects that can influence our lives and advance our understanding of the ever-changing world. They will become reality sooner rather than later, so I'm glad I didn't choose to spend my life chasing someone else's dreams. A rising tide lifts all boats. Our ideas matter, and this is a platform to be seen and heard. The time to make an impact is now, not later. I never lost sight of my end goals, so I found their beginning. And so can you. We maintain a unique bond with the foundation. This community is like a family, a large global network that still manages to feel intimate. I realize now that it all comes down to one thing: the feeling of belonging to a community. I've learned a lot, and now I want to give back.
Sorry. Now it's time for the break, I guess.
I really like it. It's really cool.
And now that we're also going to the break, I want to welcome Lina here. Sorry, Lina, that we were a bit off schedule with the Q&As of the candidates, but yeah, nice to see that another previous events officer and secretary of the board is joining us today. So thanks for being here today.
Hi, sorry, I had rushing, so I'm late. But yeah, if people want to stay around during the break and they have questions, I'm happy to help. Or just say hi to everybody. I mean, it's good to see.
Jan Grotenbreg here today. So let me just share my screen again and we can end the break. Yeah. Cool. So this is the agenda, the rest of the agenda for the rest of this meeting. There's not so much left now. So we will hand over to Jan Grotenbreg in a second, and then we will do the official closing of the election, opening of the elections and closing of the meeting. Yeah. So yeah, we would like to, oh, no, that's the wrong. Oh, sorry, hold on.
You want to start again?
No, it's fine. So yeah, we would like to warmly welcome Jan Grotenbreg as our keynote speaker today. Jan is a business development and alliances executive based in San Francisco, the Bay Area. He has a vast experience in working in business development, and he's currently working for on the EU and US industry partnerships at EIT Digital. And he's going to speak to us today about networking, the cornerstone of your success. So please, if you're there, Jan, if you want to just say hello.
I'm here. Let's do a little sound test. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I can, yes.
Perfectly clear, yes.
And then I hope I'm also visible somehow.
Yeah.
I cannot check, but I assume it is.
Sure. I'll stop sharing my screen now and give it to you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm honored that you take some of your time to spend with me. I was just listening in a little bit on the conversation that you had, and of course, I just realized that one of the hottest topics we can talk about these days is about vaccination and when are we going to open up to business trips again. And well, the only thing I can, of course, we can talk about that for hours. I think that's a topic in itself. But it just reminds me how people's mindset is changing whenever they start getting vaccinated. I got a friend of mine who lives in the Netherlands, and he loves to travel, but he just couldn't go anywhere, like most of us. And so he, as soon as he got his first shot out of the 2 AstraZeneca shots, he sent me text message and say, I want to come to the US. When are the travel restrictions stopping? And I said, I really don't know. I have no influence in that. But I understand the eagerness in order to get out of the confinement and move around a little bit. But hey, here we are. We're going to talk about something somewhat different, but maybe in the end we end up with the same topic anyway. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking with you to reflect about something that I think will not only at the moment, but really throughout your whole career, be one of the most important things that we work on. Whether we work as employees in companies, or we start our own business as entrepreneur, or we work like me in the last 10 years as independent consultants, networking is one of the more important things that you need to do. I think many of you have had a chance to participate in some of these corporate all hands meetings or annual sales meetings, where at some point in time a motivational speaker takes the stand and then talks about how in order to stay on the corporate track and make us feel good, how we can really achieve our goals by doing teamwork and being perseverant in as being keys to success. Usually this person is a retired football coach and will do that for a substantial amount of money and also explain his strategy of doing that. I can only assume that the EIT alumni organization is in a budget crunch, so today you're stuck with me. But as I was already introduced, let me talk about a little bit about myself. My name is Jan Grotenbreg, and I think some of you might recognize me as the organizer of the Deep Hack program in the last couple of years, which was one of my activities at EIT Digital. Right now, I'm also responsible for the EIT Silicon Valley Hub. So as you might know, I'm based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And yes, we are gradually also starting to open up to business travel. But most of all, as was already told, I'm what I call a transatlantic business developer. And really what it means is I work with high-tech companies in B2B areas, and particularly on the European-US relationship. And I really work with companies and organizations to either help expand their business or their presence, or devise a strategy to expand in the US on the West Coast. So I would like to talk a little bit about a couple of things that are of interest for us. And I look at this situation where we are here sitting all together, and we try to I'm sorry, my screen prompt. Okay, there we are. So when I spoke with Jeroen about a possible topic for our chat today, I realized that today you're electing a new board for the alumni organization. It struck me that it might be interesting to offer you some thoughts on something that very often is little addressed during our university study, but is a necessity during the whole of our career, networking. And I hope to offer you some insights in how I believe this is relevant for ourselves personally, but also for our alumni organization. Let's start with some perspectives. Being an EIT alumni right now, and I saw that when I looked at your faces on the screens, makes you a millennial. You know, the generation that was born between 81 and 97 in the last century. And to give you some perspective, here are some famous millennials that we all know about. So some of those faces you probably recognize. We have Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, also known as AOC. We have Kim Jong-un, who is responsible to lead a country that's a non-democratic country. We have Malala Yousafzai, who is the youngest Nobel Prize winner after she had been attacked by the Taliban in her country simply for going to school. We have Mark Zuckerberg, I think all known to everybody as the founder of Facebook. Meghan Markle, who is shaking up the royal family right now. And Edward Snowden, who put his freedom at risk to disclose the truth about the freedom for everybody else. This is the generation that is currently, right now, driving the changes of the world, the generation that you are part of. And the millennials are now the largest working generation. And looking at these people, at you, and looking back, make me think of the time that when I came out of university and started my professional life. Let's say the place where you are right now. Yes, I'm a baby boomer. I know it might sound ancient and it's the generation at the heights of its career, or most likely beyond that. But it's interesting to consider that some 30 years ago, these people were at the same place where you are right now. And let's see whether we can share of these faces as well. And you recognize them. We have Barack Obama, of course, and Donald Trump, same generation. Steve Jobs changed the whole world by inventing first the Apple computer and later on the iPhone. Bill Gates. Angela Merkel, who is, as we all know, at the end of her career, where she has a lifelong mission to lead Germany in the world. And Christine Lagarde, who was the first female head of the IMF. They started their journey to change the world and with far-reaching consequences. And those consequences we are still working with today. So how did the world really change? I think it's an interesting question and looks at things that did not exist when I was in college and only got invented afterwards. And I think you'll agree with me, if we look at that, we will really have a good impression about how quickly the world can change. So let's have a quick look at that. One of the first things that came out after I left university, so I was about the same position as you are right now. CD players and CDs were invented, which later on developed to DVDs and Blu-rays. The graphical user interface on computers, both Apple and Windows, they worked on this. DNA fingerprinting, these were all things that really developed later on. And of course, if you go further than that, a lot of things got introduced in the world. And this was during my professional career. Mobile phones. I mean, the first message I sent was per telex. I still remember my first messages being sent per telex. SMS messages, text messages, Palm Pilot. I still remember having some engineers in my team who were totally excited about having a device that fit in the palm of your hand and could carry all the information. Digital cameras, memory devices like memory sticks, memory cards and USB sticks, MP3 players. These are all things that only have developed not so long ago. And of course, this all put together with the upcoming of the internet and put together in the smartphone, which really was introduced with the iPhone device by Steve Jobs. And that further developed into a whole new generation of applications. I mean, we talk about distribution of online content, distribution of software, and further on the development of social media. Actually, I do believe that the biggest invention around the introduction of the iPhone or the smartphone was not the device itself, but the App Store. I think the App Store has totally changed the way we distribute content. So isn't that fascinating? And why is it fascinating? Because it was, for me, very difficult to imagine all this would happen those years to come. And can you imagine how the world looked like without smartphones or cell phones? I mean, you had to go on a telephone to dial the number to reach somebody. Or you played music from a tape, which always got stuck and then messed up your recording. Personal computers, I mean, you had to type command lines. Everything went in DOS or reading the news from printed newspapers that blackened your fingers when you touched it, and writing letters. If you didn't have a telex machine, they had to be sent by the mail service. So that's how the world looked like when I came out of college. And all these things I just mentioned were created and invented by my baby boomer peers around the world. And going fast forward, looking ahead, I can't even imagine how the world will look like by the time when you, the millennials, will take the places that the baby boomers have right now. The changes that will have been made, the impact on the world as we know it today. So why I'm telling you all this? Why I spend so much time on these history lessons? I'm telling you this because when I came from university, I believed I was ready for the world to come. I had acquired all that I needed to know to understand the world. You know, I have a background, an engineering background, I think like most of you. So we like to understand things around us so we can apply our knowledge and wisdom and explain others what's going on. And I think I probably did understand the world as it was at that moment, but then things started to change. By now, you will probably not be surprised anymore if I tell you that whatever I had learned in university was not adequate for the changes that were going to happen during the rest of my career. The vast impact of personal computers, digitalization of sound, video, and information, the internet, the shift from desktop devices to completely mobile devices, and so on, and so on. And maybe it's not such a surprise that from all of the courses I did in math, physics, and electronics, that the one that I really ended up using the most was an elective course, French for engineers. I have to admit, to that extent, the usage of that knowledge was strongly encouraged by my wife, who happened to be French. And all these unexpected changes in life, unforeseen directions, developed during all stages of my career. When I started my professional life, I took a job, like many of my peers, with Philips Electronics. Well, I have to say, I studied in Eindhoven, so that was really the big company next door. Even though I tried very hard not to get there, I still ended up taking a job. And at that time, the hiring process was quite different. First, you were being judged on whether you possibly would fit in the organization, or as they used to say that internally, cut of the right wood. After it, you would be invited to join. And the actual job you would be doing seemed to be of lesser importance, because you were expected over the course of your career to do multiple jobs at the company, and most likely stay there until your retirement. I'm sure you have heard of the name Philips, even though I believe the brand recognition has largely disappeared over the recent years. Nowadays, the only activities that the company has left are in medical equipment and lighting. And even though these used to be combined in separate divisions in one single multinational company, they are now separated into independent entities. In the heydays, there were also divisions for consumer electronics, consumer appliances, electronic components, integrated circuits, test and measuring equipment, materials, business electronics, and others. And during the period I worked with Philips, I worked for 4 different divisions. And they were all spun out or divested after or during my presence. So let this be a warning for any company that wants to engage with me. I have to admit, in the end, it was a great experience, as I could enjoy living and working all over the world, like the Netherlands, Germany, Taiwan, China, and finally here in the US. But unlike the initial expectations of a lifetime employment, our ways parted and I pursued my own activities. And that is the time that I started to realize that the corporate world was changing. Large corporations had grown too heavy and lost agility, and the startup environment picked up to boom. People became specialists in a certain field rather than career employees at a company. People would start to move from project to project and chase companies along the way. Of course, this has always been more apparent in the US, but in Europe, the same thing is happening right now as in other parts of the world. Individuals have become more and more independent experts, creating their own brand with their own marketing and their own customer base. And when I was working for that large multinational, I really had never any difficulties to find resources. There was always somebody in the organization that knew the answer to my question. Or if I had to set up meetings with business partners, this was never a problem. However, when I started to represent myself, that was a complete different story. Finding resources was no longer just picking up the phone or dropping a line to somebody. Setting up meetings, I could no longer rely on the multinational door opener name on my business card. Every step along the way, I had to explain why it was relevant to talk to me, what I precisely was proposing, and oh yeah, I didn't work for free. These questions will always show up, whether you represent yourself or have your own startup. You have to show your value and build up your customers' trust. Whether you represent yourself or your startup, you need to find reliable sources, have useful references, and a differentiating pitch ready to go. And I'm not even talking about finding new opportunities and customers. All of this sounds pretty daunting, but there's a way to guide you through all of this. I believe it's business networking, or simply networking. So, just for the sake of completeness, I looked up what really networking means. So look at Wikipedia. Of course, this is our source of all wisdom, because we believe that if we jointly write down the wisdom, we have the most optimum outcome. So networking is a socio-economic business activity by which business people, entrepreneurs, meet, form business relationships, and to recognize, create, and act upon business opportunities, share information, and seek potential partners for ventures. Sound nice, eh? Well, this is really what I believe is the core of your success going forward. And not only finding business opportunities benefit from networking, it's also the most successful strategy for people who are looking for jobs or want to be employed. And why? Because employee referrals have the highest applicant to hire conversion rate, and they account for 40% of all hires. In other words, if you get referred by someone in the company where you're applying for a job, you have a much better chance to be selected. And how do you get to know these people? By networking, applying your skills, and tap into the people you know and trust. As for the job hires, I have noticed in the US, and definitely also is the same in Europe, more often than not, these referrals come from people who come from the same university. These referrals come from people who know each other from the past. The support network from university is very important and very strong. I think a function that's very well to be supported by an alumni organization. Networking forces you to be clear, to the point, for example, in your elevator pitch, allows you to quickly get feedback, offers you the opportunity to help someone by offering him or her to connect, provide information, or simply provide feedback. It is a test bed for your message and a great way to get to know people. I am always amazed how spontaneously people are willing to help you once you explained your question or problem. Of course, you have to be ready to return the favor as well. Think of it as in this way. People do business with people they trust, not people they like. Okay, I have to say it is less likely you do business with someone you don't like. But building trust is the key factor. And building trust starts with listening and helping others. No matter how small the help, it adds to the overall impression. And then there's this other thing you probably heard of, 6 degrees of separation. Fascinating. This basically means that you're 6 or fewer social connections away from any person. A place where this is made visible is LinkedIn. You probably have profile, looked at it, and have you ever looked how far away you are from famous people, well-known people? I mean, you can do that. It's if it's a first connection, a second level, third level. If it's beyond that, LinkedIn will indicate that as well, but you cannot go further than that. But so I looked up a couple of people. Hey, and I'm not somebody who has been dealing continuously with people in high places. So I looked at Barack Obama. I'm a second level connection. Okay, maybe he's a good networker, got close to me. Ursula von der Leyen is heading the EU Commission right now, third level connection. Even Bill Gates is a third level connection. I mean, he's only 2 people away from where I am. This is surprisingly close. As I said, never had close dealings with them. Now, on the other hand, I don't expect any of these people to answer my call when I reach out to them. Because for sure, I'm not the only one trying to do so, right? And actually, this is the case for any situation where you encounter someone the first time, be it for business or for personal reasons. As the saying goes, you only have one chance to create a first impression. And the first impression will stay in someone's mind way beyond the moment of the first encounter. The first impression is the foundation on which trust in you is built. And it's very difficult to change an impression once created. It takes time to change someone's mind on this, if it's possible at all. And time in most cases is a very scarce commodity, as there are many happenings competing for time, not in the least your competition. The process of networking seems to be daunting for many people. The fact that you start talking to someone you just met or have been introduced to seems to be very trying for many. And often I believe this has to do with the natural fear of being turned down. What if this person is not interested in what I'm doing? Am I wasting my or him or her time? What do we talk about? All of these are valid questions. But are these the right questions? Networking is not about obtaining a certain result on the spot. It's not about maintaining a scoreboard on LinkedIn or the number of business cards in your Rolodex. Okay, I guess the latter is more applicable to the baby boomers around us. Networking is learning about the person you just encountered, understanding what him, her interests, what her passions are. How does day-to-day work look like? Networking is about the possibility to enter a world that you are far less familiar with and learn about it. Networking is about helping someone to discover new information. When you tell me about your passion, I might remember an article I just read, and maybe I'll forward it to you because I think it might be of interest of you. Networking is about being able to bring you in contact with other people who share the same passion or work on the same topic. In the end, networking is about starting to understand someone, start to build trust. Because every developing relationship, be it business or personal, is based upon understanding and trust. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's no negative outcome from networking. There's just an opportunity to discover something new. And believe me, everybody has the fear of being turned down, of being short of words. But also, everybody likes to explore something new, open new avenues, and talk about their own experience to someone who's genuinely interested. And it's very well possible that by simply trying to explain to others what keeps you up at night will help you to find the answers. Forcing yourself to explain something in front of others, even people you barely know, will help you organize your thoughts and put things in a perspective. People in front of you, they can act as a catalyst for your own thoughts. Of course, out of the many encounters you had and will have in life, not all of them will develop in deep, long-lasting relationships. But networking is a way to discover these potential lasting relationships. Relationships are deeper and more durable if you have lived through a joint experience together. Something uniquely that you share and has given the opportunity to further understand each other and build trust. What I always think as a good example of this is the infamous business dinner. Sitting down at a restaurant table and sharing dinner with others offers the opportunity to have a longer conversation, better understand the others, provide a memory of a unique joint activity. It is, I believe, one of the reasons it's a very important step in building a trust relationship. And if it's not dinner, hey, you can go to a sports game together and watch that. And of course, being said that, we hope that we can go back to those activities soon. But the joint experience can be deeper and longer, like working together as colleagues for some time, or, from my own experience, being expatriated. If you're expatriated, you live in a unique situation. Expats live in an environment where they didn't grow up. So the joint experience and joint values that relate to the culture in which you grew up are different, sometimes even opposite. They're different from what seems to be natural to you or right to you. Don't forget, our value system was formed when we were teenagers and we discovered the world against our own specific cultural background. This is very important because it forms the core value system of our being for each of us. We all have a different way we experience this. And believe me, we will change very little over the course of our lives, even if we move to other places in the world. Living in another cultural environment will help us better understand these other cultures though, which is a huge valuable asset in itself, personal, but also business reasons. Expats often are either alone or in small family settings, like parents with their children, when they live in their new host country. They are not closely implied with the lives of their siblings, uncle, aunts, cousins, nephews, because they're far away from that. And also their friends that they knew and they grew up with, they're not in the close environment anymore. So they're basically in an isolated situation and they do have time to develop relationships. And as a result, expats naturally bond with other expats, similar cultural backgrounds. And these relationships, which usually are built up over several years, are very strong and can last long after these expats have gone somewhere else and the paths separated again. As a result, it's very well possible that they might not be in contact with each other for years, but when they do meet again, it's as if they never left and they met each other yesterday. And even after years, they are immediately open to help each other and talk about their lives again. And that's what brings me back to the reason why we are all here. To decide over the future of the EIT alumni organization. I hope that by now it's easy to see that you belong to a group that has gone through a unique experience, working closely together, often trusting each other in order to move through your studies, pass your exams, and maybe have helped each other beyond that as well, by helping to find living spaces, or maybe you made the introductions to a person that for somebody else has become the most important person of their life. I strongly believe that you have a unique opportunity to build and maintain a network that has not only helped you in the past, but will continue to help you in the future. Because one day, one of you will be speaking to the next generation of alumni, Generation Alpha. He or she will remember the fact that the world has changed in a way we could not imagine before. And despite our education and skills, the only way to keep up with this is to help each other based upon our trust and understanding. And with these words, I would like to finish my little talk. I wish you all good luck with your endeavors and look forward to hear your story if we have the opportunity to meet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan, for the presentation, interesting presentation. And I will try to recap for our audience some of the key points. I think you mentioned many ideas that bring us back on why it's important to have alumni associations and how we need to keep building networks throughout our entire lives, not only settle down with the contacts that we made from university or from our first jobs. And that whatever looks like a successful career or in a big company, a safe career in a company, might change in just a handful of years. That it's also important to keep reinventing ourselves, and alumni organizations are a big part of that. And that we do business with people we know and trust. And trust is something that is often set with the very first impression. We also heard that networking very often seems like a daunting task, but it's rather a gradual process, and it's all about building trust over time. And finally, that shared experiences and multicultural experiences are a great way of building trust. And again, alumni organizations can help us go through these shared experiences. So thanks again for the excellent keynote presentation, and now I will give the floor back to Jeroen.
Yes, thank you very much as well from my side, Jan. Let me share the screen to move on to the last bit that we have on the agenda today, which is excitingly the opening of the elections that we're going to start now. I think we have had a great opportunity to meet all the candidates before, discussing, hearing from them, from each and every one of them, what drives them, what motivates them, and what ideas they have for the community. So now I think the only thing that is left to say is that the decision is yours. The decision is one to make for the community, for our members, and this is what will be happening in the coming months. Having a look at the timeline that I think many of you have seen on our website, the application period has closed on the 15th of April, 2 days ago. Today is the 17th of April, where we have our online alumni meeting, an official opening of the vote. And as you can see here, the voting will be open for around 1 month, in accordance with our bylaws, and to stay open from the 17th of April to the 15th of May, after which the election results will be announced publicly. Then, as I already told before, there will be a handover meeting, and the board handover will continue onwards to the 4th of July, the date on which the new board will start and take over take over the governance of our foundation. Now, before we open the vote, there are a couple of things about this voting that I think are very important to mention. Before, we already talked about the quorum in one of our breaks, and it is important to know that the quorum for us for a vote to be valid is 10%. With the current number of alumni, which is 1,001, this means we need to reach a minimum of 10%. Which translates to 101 votes that need to be cast in order for this decision to be valid. The second thing is that the candidate with the simple majority wins. In the case of the single candidate running, there will be an option for people to choose your name. There will be an option to choose none of the candidates as well. And for both the candidates that are both running for the events officer, the candidate with the simple majority, so the highest number of votes will win. So that's the rules that are set there. Important to know is as well that only full alumni can vote, and full alumni are people that have proven their status, that they have graduated before today. Because today we need to count the quorum. The quorum is 101 votes we establish now based on the current logic, meaning that unfortunately, if you have graduated but your status is not yet upgraded to full alumni, you cannot vote in these elections, because that would change all the things that we have presented today. But make sure to flag it to us so we can upgrade it, and in the next round of elections that are taking place, or the next board, the next positions that we need to fill, you are able to participate as well. Lastly, the deadline of the vote is the 15th of May. So altogether, I think it's our duty to promote this as much as possible, make sure that we get as many people to vote in these elections, and exceed the needed quorum by a lot of votes, I hope. But yeah, without further ado, let me open the voting. I hope that Damiano, our web developer in the background, has been listening to the presentation as well. And you're able to go now, scan the QR code, go to our website, and click vote now in the menu that you have there. This will allow you to vote on all the candidates. One important thing to keep in mind there, and I'm going to say this because you are all here and this mistake is often made, is that it is a form that allows you to submit a vote for each and every candidate. So if you click all the votes that you want under each of the individual votes, there is a submit button that you need to click for your vote to be submitted. So in this case, you will have to do that 7 times, but it's a small effort for carrying out your democratic duties. So without further ado, I think it is your choice now. The vote is open and will remain open for a month. Good luck for all the candidates. Then that, I think, brings us to the end of the alumni meeting. Before we bring the meeting to a close, though, I would really like to thank our keynote speaker, Jan Grotenbreg, that just presented here with some very interesting insights. I also would like to thank all the candidates that were available today to present themselves, to answer all the difficult questions that we had prepared for them. Hopefully we're not too hard on you guys, but I think you all did a very good job. I would also like to thank my fellow board members of the outgoing board now, because I think this very well might be our last official meeting that we carry out with everyone that carries a formal nature. So I already tried to hint at this when I was sharing my biggest moments of joy. I think working with this team was incredible, and we have done an incredible job moving this Alumni Foundation forward in a time of pandemic. So thank you very much, guys, for these 2 years of work. There will be a couple more months ahead, and then we'll be handing over to the new guys. And then lastly, I think it's also very important to thank all the alumni, all the people that joined, that attended, all the people that have engaged with us over the last couple of years. It is important because I think we managed to stick together in this difficult time. I think we have highlighted enough during the meeting today that the COVID pandemic was not easy on everyone, but we managed to innovate when the unexpected happens. I think that's super important. Where we presented, we met online, we managed to continue this, although I think all of us would have rather done this with a beer in our hands on the beach in Porto, for example, or other places where we could have met. Madeira, I heard. And I think you continued, some of you continued, most of you continued to interact with us online in our social media, in these events that are taking place, although they're absolutely not the same as, you know, meeting in person. So I think this is a huge thank you for everyone. Now, we hear this a lot, but I really hope, and I need this to be true, that the end of all of this is near and that we can look forward to organizing some events again in the future, where we can meet again, we can network, we can travel, we can learn from each other, we can engage with each other. So I think that's something that we definitely should dream about and look forward to. My last call to action to all of you would be to show you support. Let's vote for the candidates that are out there now. I think this is the first thing. Let us know as well what you would like to happen in the coming years. Really let us know, because it's very important for us, the outgoing board, but also for the incoming board. Contribute by joining a working group, by carrying out, by taking on events, by showing how it's done. And lastly, really to end this meeting, I hope to see you guys all very soon. Thank you very much for joining, and have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much. And thanks also to the previous board members for joining today.
True, I forgot those.
Those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
we
you
just
all.
skipped past.
Thank you. So this
Thank
is
you.
the official sign off of the COVID board, the COVID alumni board.
Yeah, I mean, we can still use the call to do some to have some further chat if you guys want to stick around. I mean, the Zoom
First,
meeting is all yours.
Let me stop the recording then.
Do that.
All right, guys. Good luck to all the candidates.